Why riding motorcycles is the best thing to do. Let's get into this one. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're all well. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. So I just come back from a joyous ride on the back road. So I went off to a little cafe that I know, and yeah, really nice. But the journey was terrible. I was stuck behind traffic, slow-moving lorries, narrow roads, couldn't get by them, and everybody seemed to be doing half the speed limit, unnecessarily slow. It was just a crappy journey. But it would have been 10 times worse if I was in a car. So this is the point I like to make for riding a motorcycle and the benefits of it. And this is not related to any particular type of motorcycle either. Now, I ride a Harley Davidson, as you know, but I could be riding anything. For me, riding a motorcycle, whatever it is, just gives me a great sense of well-being. But also, I'm out in the world, I'm out in nature, I can feel everything. I'm not cocooned in a tin box. I'm actually feeling the wind, I'm feeling the temperature, I can feel the rumble on the road. Anytime a lorry goes by or a car goes by, I can feel it swish by, if that's a word. But I'm immersed in the environment, and that's why I like so much. But if I'm in a car, I lose that sensation, or in a truck or whatever it is, I lose that sensation. Now, of course, you get the benefit of comfort, but you lose out on so much more. And that's why I love riding motorcycles so much, regardless of what it is. Now, in the last 10 or so years, my riding style has definitely changed. It's changed from more of a speed riding, destination getting to type of riding, to more of a leisurely type of riding. And this really started when I swapped one of my faster bikes, the ZZR1400 Kawasaki, for a Triumph Explorer big adventure bike. And I started to go a lot more off-road riding, a lot more trail riding, and just going on trails that I really shouldn't have been going on, possibly, but just getting out into the countryside. And I was going naturally a lot slower. And then very soon after that I started doing this, I started to slow down even further, just to take in the environment and appreciate where I was. Then this continued out onto the road as well. I started to slow down and adopt a more leisurely style of riding. Now, of course, every now and again I do twist it on, and I do enjoy a bit of speed every now and again, but more often than not, I'm more into the leisurely riding. But when I come up against traffic, I don't want to stick behind it. I want to get past it. And it's not because I want to go fast again. It's because I actually want nothing in front of me. I want an open road in front of me. That's kind of what I like to be, whether it's in a car, but especially on a bike. Like an open road, a clear view directly ahead of me. And that's what I really like. So yeah, if I come up against the traffic, I like to get around it. But if it's slow-moving traffic, especially, you've got so many more opportunities of getting around it on a motorcycle. If you're riding in the cities, in the towns, so much more opportunities just to filter through and get to where you need to get to. So it's a great congestion easing vehicle. It's great when congestion and traffic is there. You can get through it really quickly. You can beat everybody to the lights. You can beat virtually any vehicle off the lights and carry on your way. There are so many more overtaking opportunities, and you can make the journey whatever you want it. You can make it exhilarating or you can make it leisurely. Now, as I say, my style of riding has gone more into sort of cruising, touring, leisurely riding, just taking in my environment a lot more and appreciating my environment, even when I'm just on the normal roads. Most of my riding is on the road. In fact, all of it is on the road pretty much these days, but I'm still taking in the environment. And that's why I love that feeling so much. But the problem with this is that you cannot convey it to anybody unless they experience it themselves. I've tried repeatedly trying to explain what this feeling is to people who don't ride motorcycles in particular is a very difficult thing to do. Now, lots of people talk about freedom. Oh, it's the freedom. And, you know, I never really consider it in those terms, but I suppose there is an element of that. But for me, it is really just about being out in that environment, that riding environment. And it's the physical senses, it's those visual senses, those audible senses, the smells of the road, sometimes even the taste as well, the discomfort as well. That's part of it. And the discomfort is not always because it's too hot or it's too cold or it's raining. It's sometimes just a discomfort of just being on the road and feeling all the road road beneath you as well, especially on a longer ride. That's what I really love. I've always loved the challenge of riding, and I love the challenge of riding, especially when most people are not other riding as well. In the winter months, for example. I love that. I love getting out onto the road when it's peeing down with rain and nobody else is on the road, and you think, well, I'm the only one here. But I love that. I love that feeling. Whilst it's uncomfortable and whilst I'm cursing the weather and cursing my fingers that I can't feel, I actually love it. That's part of it. But say, trying to explain that to somebody else, they probably think you're a little bit daft, you're a little bit loopy. And this is the problem with motorcycling. It's such an individual thing that you've got to experience it. Most people go in a car as a passenger. They know what it's about. Whilst they might not be driving that vehicle, they understand they're in a tin box and they're going through traffic. But getting on a motorcycle or on a scooter or whatever it is, many people never experience that. So to convey that is actually quite difficult. And I find it difficult with, people who I know, my friends, or, family or whatever, because they don't experience it, they don't know it, and they don't know the joy that it brings you. Now, of course, you can get a similar kind of joy, pleasure in other activities. Of course you can. But I'm just talking about motorcycling right now. And this is what I feel. Riding a motorbike especially, is the best thing that you can do. It's the best feeling that you can do. It's the best cleansing that you can do. And then people talk about motorcycle therapy and all that kind of stuff, but it is an individual thing, and you get out of it what you put into it, of course. And I say lots of people, for me, get into motorcycling for not necessarily the wrong reasons, but they're different reasons to why I always got into motorcycling. And for me, it was always a very much an individual thing. It's a subjective thing. It's something quite personal to me, and it's something that I experience. And I always say the only way to fully appreciate riding motorcycles is actually to get on one, as a passenger, or certainly as a rider yourself, and to go out and experience all the different weather conditions, the good, the bad, being comfortable, being uncomfortable, longer journeys, shorter journeys, different types of roads, different times of day. I mean, some of the most spiritual times that I've had in my life have been on a motorcycle. And I use spiritual very loosely, of course, but what I'm saying is it's that kind of Zen moment, that kind of feeling of tranquility and calm, that you're on a motorcycle. And yes, it can coincide with a sunset ride or something like that. It's just the environment that you're in, and it's that perfect moment that you're on your bike, you're riding it, and yeah, you've got this little smile on your face and everything seems to be well with the world. And it might only be for a brief moment, but it's there. And the more you ride, the more of these moments that you have. So this is why it's so addictive to many people. It's not only the fast riding or the exhilaration or the thrills or whatever you want to say. It can change throughout your life, and you can get different things out of motorcycling. I still say riding a motorcycle is probably one of the best things you can do. Just getting out there and experiencing it for yourself. But unfortunately, it's probably one of the most difficult things that I find to be able to explain to somebody else. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But if you ride motorcycles, you're probably going to agree with me, right? But let us know what your ultimate feeling is on a motorcycle and why it appeals to you so much, and maybe why it doesn't appeal to other people, or also maybe why it doesn't appeal to younger people so much these days. But that's for another video. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. And I will catch you again in another video coming very soon. Bye now. RevelatorAlf. Well, Harley Davidson have gone and done a big old U-turn. Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're all well. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. So, Harley Davidson, I released a video just a day or so ago, and yeah, questioning the direction of the company. Now, well, the company have issued a statement. I'm sure you've already heard that they're doing away with all these DEI policies, and they're going to be really mindful of where they put money to and what they support and all this kind of stuff. So, look, if you were ever concerned about this or ever really thought it was a big problem, then this is going to be music to your ears, right? But I think, as I say, I think a lot of this has just been blown up out of proportion. But I also think that Harley Davidson have not handled this at all well, and they kind of reap what they sow. They have these policies that nobody really wants to agree with, or even if you do agree with them, you kind of question, well, is there any place for it when we're just talking about a manufacturer and producing products that we may or may not want to buy? You know, this is why I've always talked about politics in sport, politics in manufacturing, and certainly producing motorcycles. You know, it's a separate thing. I don't really want to, you know, discuss that when I'm thinking about motorcycles. If you work for one of these companies, then yeah, you're going to have these kinds of issues that you have to deal with. But lots of people are dealing with these issues on a day-to-day basis. And if there's a backlash to counter that, then fine. But again, separate issue for me. You know, most people, I would imagine, would kind of think, yeah, they kind of might be pissed off by the whole DEI thing and the way Harley Davidson have handled this, but at the same time they kind of think, you know, I still want to ride my bike. You know, it's not going to affect me directly. Even now, they've got the PR disaster that they're sending jobs abroad. If you don't work for Harley Davidson and you're not really particularly that bothered by it, then, you know, it's not really an issue. You know, the thing is for us here in the UK and other parts of the world, of course, that are outside the United States and I believe Canada as well, that, you know, all our bikes these days come from Thailand anyway, come from the Thailand plant anyway, because it's all to do with export tariffs as well. Very few actually come from the United States. So if those RevMax bikes are going over to Thailand, where most of the sales are around the world and not in the United States, then you kind of think, well, yeah, what's the real issue? It's all about the workers in the American assembly plants. That's what people are concerned of if you're American, right? And quite rightly so, because you want American jobs by Americans in the United States, right? You want that to happen. So it's quite understandable why, you know, people would be upset about it. But this is kind of a layer upon layer of bad choices, bad PR, you know, not really thinking this through when you're dealing with your main customer base, which is within the United States as well. And it's, you know, throw in all this political stuff, this woke agenda stuff, and then all of a sudden it becomes a melting pot where people are just going to get really fed up with it. And people online will talk about it. Now, not only have Harley Davidson had a real PR disaster with handling this whole woke affair, right? And they've backpedaled and they say they're going to get rid of it. But how much are they really going to get rid of this? How much are they really going to do a 180 on all their policies? It's going to be a tough ask for them to all of a sudden say, no, we're scrapping this and we're doing that. It'd be interesting to see what happens in a few months, what happens within that, and, you know, what stories come out of the company. But most people, if you work for Harley Davidson, are going to be more interested in, do I still have a job? Can I still earn a living from Harley Davidson, rather than whether the company is DEI, you know, woke this, woke that. That's what people are really interested in. If you work for them, you want to know if you still got a job. So the biggest PR thing that's kind of gone under the radar a little bit under this woke thing is that they've shifted production over to Thailand. But again, it only affects a small number of people, really, in the grand scheme of things. And it's only going to be a temporary measure. So maybe that production will come back out. We don't know, and we're not being told whether those production lines within the assembly plants are being rejigged for other bikes that we just don't know. So the jobs are completely safe. We just don't know that. But if it couldn't get any worse, than a few days ago, Harley Davidson were made to pay, or are going to be made to pay, $240 million in punitive damages because of a trike accident where a female rider or passenger was killed. And this was after the bike had a recall for traction control and braking issues, I believe. The the trike had gone into a dealership to have all these fixes, but they hadn't given it a test ride to see if these problems still existed. Anyway, they still did exist. They've won in court. Harley Davidson have lost again. So it's just another layer that they really don't need right now. You know, but then again, it's making big news out there. And, you know, for those involved, they're saying, no, you can't come here, Harley Davidson, and think that a small town is not going to stand its ground and, you know, make you pay for what you've done. And again, this is big corporate Harley Davidson not really understanding its customer base not only feel aggrieved, but also are standing their ground, and they will come after you if you're not doing what's right by the riders, by their families, so on and so forth. And also, put that aside, just produce bikes that work, that don't have to be fixed, and don't, cause accidents. Now, this could happen to all manufacturers, of course it is, but it's the way you deal with it, it's the way you respond to it. Now, you could argue that this is not a Harley-Davidson issue. This is the dealership's problem because they didn't do the work properly. So there is a counter argument here that it's not Harley-Davidson Corporate's fault, it's the dealership's fault. But the court has said that it's Harley-Davidson issue. They've got to pay $240 million. I think the grand total amount was $287 million they've lost out. But the $240 million punitive damages, that's the one. That's the one that they're hammering home. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to address a couple of things which I've noticed on YouTube in particular, but I would imagine it's going on other social platforms as well. Ever since this whole saga started with Harley-Davidson, this wokeness and everything like that, I've said that there are many YouTube channels out there and accounts on social media who are kind of agitating this, who don't even know anything about motorcycles. They've never ridden one, and they openly admit they don't ride motorcycles, but they're going after the agenda. So I get that. There are many YouTube channels out there and other accounts, I'm sure, who are involved in the motorcycle world, let's say, either riding or a dealership level or whatever. And they've been making comments out of it, right? But they're just kind of small YouTube channels, very small YouTube channels. Maybe they've just started out. Maybe they're just giving their 2 pennies worth, that kind of thing. There are other YouTube channels who are a little bit bigger, let's say in my kind of category, and maybe a little bit bigger, who've come out. But we've basically come out and called it as it is. Just providing a balanced argument, just asking questions, giving our own opinions, but at least we're talking about it. We're not hiding beneath a rock. There are other YouTube channels who are even bigger, a lot bigger, the main Harley-Davidson ones, and you think, where the hell are they? Where are they during this whole process? I'll tell you where they are. They're keeping it on the down low because, as I've said before, regardless of how independent they try and say they are, they have a relationship with Harley-Davidson. They have a relationship with, many other motorcycle manufacturers, and it all comes down to they don't want to sever ties with that. They don't want to piss off the people, all the powers that be within those organizations. And with Harley-Davidson now, they don't want to start coming out and giving their 2 pennies worth, or saying that Harley-Davidson are right or they're wrong and all this kind of stuff, because they're basically saying, well, I don't want to alienate myself from those who are angry at Harley-Davidson, and I don't want to alienate myself from Harley-Davidson, which I might have a financial relationship with, or they give me access to some of their products to make videos. They're protecting that. They're protecting themselves from any kind of negative backlash until this kind of blows over. I get it. This is not criticism on about these guys at all. Far from it. I fully understand it. But this is what I've said for many, many years in terms of YouTube and everything. There's only a few YouTube channels who you could really say are completely independent. The ones that are not influenced by, external forces, that are not being paid by anybody, who are not at the beck and call of somebody, or even if they believe they are completely independent, at the back of their mind, they've got to know that, I might have to be careful what I say here. Even if they tell you, no, this is completely independent, I can say whatever I want. Because nobody comes out, very few of them come out and say, this product is absolutely shit, it's absolutely rubbish, get rid of it. Because as soon as that happens, they know they're less likely to be called back again, unless they have such a huge following that it doesn't really matter. Most are still chasing that kind of relationship. But I'm surprised that some of them whose relationships have soured with Harley-Davidson, they haven't come out and said anything. A couple have come out and said, look, they're a little bit like me, really. I just like, so what? In that respect, it doesn't affect my life in particular. I'm still going to ride my bike, and what happens in corporate work, it's that's up to them. It's got nothing to do with me. I think Shade Tree Surgeon came out and said something like that. You know, I will kind of, yeah, I mean, I like his channel anyway. I think he does some great stuff as well. But, you know, at the same time, you know, I've kind of questioned some of the things he's done in the past. But on the whole, I think he's done great. And also think that what he said there was kind of what most people are kind of thinking as well. You know what? It's got nothing to do with me, none of my business, you know, just get on with it. You know, ride your bikes. If you like Harley, you do. If you don't, you don't, you know, get on with it. But there are lots of other big names out there, or bigger names, that just haven't said a word. Now, maybe it could be there's a bit of a lag between when they're producing their videos and when they actually publish them. So I could release this video right now, and then tomorrow you have a whole host of these YouTubers coming out and saying, oh, what a sorry affair this whole thing was with Harley Davidson, and maybe they learnt their lesson. They're speaking, you know, they're listening to their customer base. You know, they could come out and do that. I don't know. But the likes of Adam Sandoval, who I thought, wow, do you know what, you might have said something. Blockhead, Her Two Wheels, I don't know, even $1 Million Bogan, right? You would have thought that he's been quite critical in the past, and you think, well, maybe he would have said something over the last couple of days. Maybe he will, I don't know. Again, I'm not trying to preempt what they've said, but the point is, up until this point, they haven't really said anything. So it's been down to a lot of the smaller channels to kind of put their head above the parapet and say, look, hold on a minute, yeah, this isn't right, or I've observed this, or it doesn't really affect me, or whatever. They're giving their honest opinion because they're independent. Or it's down to these channels, whether they're motorcycle related or not, who have a vested interest in this anti-woke agenda, or they're these agitating kind of channels who have nothing to do with motorcycles. And this is what really kind of annoyed me, really. They're coming in and kind of claiming that they know all, or they're trying to say things about the motorcycle industry or about Harley Davidson, which I've been saying, well, this has been going on for years, you know, and they're quoting things that happened, you know, a couple of years ago and everything. It's like, you know, we've already said this. This is nothing new. So I'll get back to the original point. The reason why they're not saying anything, because it affects their future relationship. But also they've got to be very careful about what they say, because they can alienate their fan base in either direction. They can alienate, let's say, a potential sponsor or some kind of working relationship with a manufacturer or any kind of dealership, either way, because of what they say. They're kind of trying to protect their position, whereas somebody like me, for example, I've got no position to protect. You know, there is nothing to protect here. I don't have a relationship here. I have a good relationship, I believe, with my local dealership, all the guys that work there, but only as a customer. As I go in, you know, I just buy things from there. I'll go in, have a coffee, go and say hello, that kind of thing. But, you know, I don't have a kind of financial arrangement or any kind of arrangement with anybody. And I've always kind of prided myself on being that kind of independent voice on YouTube, just giving my opinions, telling you what's what, saying if something is good, highlighting where something is not so good, being critical at some points, giving praise at other points as well, trying to show you where things can be improved or fixes for your bike. By the way, there could be a good fix coming out very, very soon on the channel as well, so watch out for that if you're a Softail rider. But there's so many things that are sent my way, so many ideas, so many offers of support, or so many offers of collaborations with companies, and for the most part I just say no, because I don't really see how it's a benefit to me or a benefit to the channel, but certainly I don't see how it's a benefit to you guys as well. And that's what I would say. I'd rather be independent and have nobody watch the videos, that kind of be some kind of mouthpiece to an organization. Now, I'll leave you with this. In many ways, we're all a mouthpiece for Harley Davidson, the likes of Harley Davidson, or any company that we talk about, or any product that we talk about, or anything. Just by the mere notion of me driving my truck down the road or riding my bike down the road, I'm a walking, riding, driving billboard for that company, right? So if I'm talking about Harley Davidson, hey, there's no such thing as bad PR. They're getting free press all the time. And this is one of the criticisms of Harley Davidson and other companies as well. They're getting so much free press from the social media world, from YouTube especially, for many, many years. And there hasn't really been a lot in return. There hasn't been that kind of two-way street, that open conversation between a wide range of channels, let's say, not just the ones that have, you know, a bigger following. The reason being because they're only going after the audience. They're going after the numbers. They're not going after the content. They're not going after what people are saying. They're not going after what could be good for the company or bad for the company. They're basically just going after the numbers, and they want positive PR. Why wouldn't they, right? It makes perfect sense. Why wouldn't they? But what I'm saying is there's this disparity there. And that's where you kind of fall on your sword a little bit, because we want to talk about these things. We want to talk about bikes or cars or whatever. And ultimately, yeah, we're going to be talking about a product or a company that we either like or we don't like, but it's always free publicity for them. So I'm going to continue talking about these things and topics that interest me, come what may. It doesn't really make any difference because I'm independent. I have no allegiance to anybody. As I say, I ride my bike and enjoy riding my bike, but if I decide to go in a different direction in the future, that'll be my decision. It won't be a decision where I'm going to be worrying about my subscriber count or my views or anything like that, because ultimately every channel should be about your own views, about your own experiences, about what you want to show the world, not what other people are telling you, not what other people expect, and certainly not what a company expects you to do. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for future videos. And I will catch you again on another video coming very soon. Bye now. RevelatorAlf. Why are the young not riding motorcycles anymore? Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're all well. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. So, why are the youth of today, why are they not riding motorcycles? Why isn't there a desire by the young to get onto a motorcycle these days, or a scooter or a moped or whatever it is? Why? Why is that? Why is there this perception that this is actually the case? So I've just spent a few days in the city, and this really hit home to me that I saw lots of young people, let's say, just moving around the city, and they're all on electric bicycles, or walking, or on electric scooters. Lots of electric scooters in this city where I was. And that seemed to be the mode of transport for the young. I didn't see any mopeds, didn't actually see any scooters, certainly saw very few motorcycles around, which I thought was a bit strange. But overwhelmingly, the mode of transport for the younger people were electric bicycles and electric scooters, and bicycles, of course. So what's changed? It seemed to be that the youth of yesteryear were more likely to get onto mopeds and scooters, but not anymore, because there are alternatives out there. Many people in the comments of not only my videos, but other videos will remark upon this. They'll say, well, you know, motorcycles are only for older people now. Younger people have got other distractions. They got other modes of transport. They got other ways of getting around. They're not really interested in motorcycles anymore. Motorcycles are not even a thing. They just don't really care. And I'm generalizing, of course, because there are certain parts of the world where the scooter and the moped is king. If you go into the Far East, somewhere like Vietnam, somewhere like Thailand, other countries in that area, lots of people, actually the young, they all lean towards mopeds and scooters and small cc motorcycles. That is the mode of transport of choice, not even only for the young, but also throughout all age groups. But I suppose this observation is more of the Western countries, United States, Europe, where younger people are less inclined to get into motorcycling. Now, it could be a cost thing. It could be a changing of fashion, or it could be that the alternatives are just so much more favourable to younger people rather than getting on a scooter or moped just to start off that motorcycling career. I just popped out on the bike and I just stumbled across a motorcycle meet. I assume it's for a vintage motorcycle club meet, and yeah, it's full of grey beards and grey haired people, or people with no hair at all, and yeah, they're great. Some lovely old bikes there, some Ariels, some Triumphs, some vintage Japanese bikes, and all sorts of bikes there. Very small meet, but it was really cool. I just stumbled across it. I was just going in that general direction anyway, and I thought, oh, what's going on here? But this is a common thing that I hear as well, that you go to a motorcycle meet, you go to a motorcycle cafe, and most people are of the older generation. There are very few that are of the younger generation. Now, of course, they're still out there. It's not as if you never see a young person on a motorcycle or on a scooter. But I'm just saying, as the years go by, the age range of people on motorcycles seems to be shifting towards the right. And the younger people are not really filling in the gaps. So perhaps this is why companies like Harley-Davidson tend to market their motorcycles towards the older age group. They're always being criticized, especially like somebody like me who say, no, you should be producing motorcycles or scooters or low cc motorcycles and scooters for the young, that they can afford them as well. But maybe they know something that we don't, because if only older people are riding motorcycles, then older people are less likely to go and buy a 50cc motorcycle. They're more likely to go and buy a bigger motorcycle that they can have fun on as well. I suppose I'm making this video because it's about observation. It's about seeing who is riding out there, or the numbers that are riding out there as well. It did appear when I was growing up that motorcycling was more for the younger people. And as people got older and older, when I was 10, 12, 15, more and more, whilst there were older people riding, there were less of them. That was my impression back then. Now it seems to be the other way around. There are less and less younger people riding motorcycles or scooters or whatever it is in Western countries, but a lot more older people, a lot more people with grey hair, let's say, or no hair, that are riding motorcycles, that are going to motorcycle meet places, that are going into cafes, that kind of thing. It seems as if the last great generation of motorcycling youth have all got old now. And it hasn't been backfilled by any of the young, or certainly the young in numbers. Ultimately, is this the end of motorcycling as we know it? Is this the end of the road, or are we approaching the end of the road? A report has just come out and it's reporting one of the motorcycle press in the UK that the numbers of people buying big motorcycles has significantly dropped, and a lot more people are buying smaller cc motorcycles. Well, that's, yeah, I would imagine that anyway. Not only based on price, but also based on lots of other factors as well. If you're doing short journeys, you don't really need a big bike, right? There has been, and I've kind of been mentioning this recently in some of my videos, that there has been a bit of a shift from big engine motorcycles to mid-range motorcycles, or certainly even to smaller motorcycles as well. And you know what? I can kind of see that in myself as well. As I would get older, and I've seen this in so many comments as well, that as people get older, they don't want the big heavy bikes because it's a physical challenge as well. They don't want the big heavy bikes. They actually want to step down to smaller bikes, a lot more lightweight bikes that are actually fun as well. Also, getting older and having a big expensive motorcycle that's just sat in the garage and you're not even riding it on a regular basis. A lot of people are thinking, do you know what, let me just sell that. Either go and get an old vintage bike that's really light, small, that I can tinker with and have a bit of fun on, or just swap out the big bike and just to come back to a smaller bike. That happens on a regular basis. You would hope that the motorcycle industry have already acknowledged this. They're not just carrying on regardless. And that was always my concern for the likes of Harley-Davidson, but not only Harley-Davidson. I've got to stress that they're not really catering to the young or to the new generation of rider. Now, this could be a combination of things. Not only that they're ignoring a lot of small powered or low powered electric motorcycles or scooters, but also not producing small cc petrol driven motorcycles as well. Whereas if you take the likes of Honda and other big motorcycle manufacturers, of course, they don't ignore that core principle. They make motorcycles for all ages, for all types of journeys, and for all tastes as well. I'm sure the motorcycle industry has got a hold of this, or they acknowledge it. But it's what they can do next, and what will they do next to attract the next generation of rider. I don't have those answers. I'm not sure where this is going, to be quite honest with you. Lots of people in the comments on my videos have already started to say motorcycle industry is dead. It will die off in the next few years. I'm not so sure I'm going to go that way, that far, be that negative right now. But, you know, when you start analysing this, and start looking at this in detail, and also look at the numbers of people that are getting into motorcycling and staying in motorcycling for their lifetime, I'm not so sure that the numbers are there anymore. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. And I will catch you again in another video coming very soon. Bye now. RevelatorAlf. Where now for Harley Davidson? Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're well. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. So I've got the bins on. It's all getting very serious here. Now, where do Harley Davidson go now? We've had all the noise over the last couple of weeks about being woke and the CEO and everything like that. Who knows what the future is going to be for the company now? Will all this bad PR really affect the company and which direction they go in terms of the CEO, in terms of the policies that they have, but also in terms of the services and the products that they produce in the future or continue to produce? So here's what my thoughts are of the company and all the future of the company. The company have got to change the way that they do things. But it might be that the path that they're currently on is just completely wrong. It's wrong for the traditionalists. It's wrong for the hardcore riders, let's say, of Harley Davidson, or the fans, I should say. And it's wrong for the next generation of biker coming in. Where is your core audience? Where is your core market? Well, if you alienate that core market, not in totality, but certainly in high enough numbers, then that's going to affect your bottom line. So the CEO and the board of directors, let's say, of Harley Davidson are taking this company in a certain direction. They're looking at high value units, high value items. They're looking for high value customers who can afford these really expensive machines and expensive services and expensive parts. And they want to target that 40-plus-year-old person, individual who can afford all this. Well, the numbers of those are reducing. And the numbers of those who are willing to pay that kind of money to a company who they may feel is not really supplying them with a product that they really want, throw in all the noise of being woke and all that kind of stuff, then all of a sudden you might have a little issue here. Now, I've said for the longest time that Harley Davidson, in terms of the product diversity, there's just nothing there. It's too much in one way for a company to go forward, to move forward with the times, because I believe they have to change. But they can't ignore what your core customer base really wants. But you cannot ignore what the new customers want, and if you want to attract new riders as well. So they got a big problem here. They got a big problem in terms of PR. They got a big problem in terms of costs versus the global economy, which I've been harping on about for a long, long time now, which nobody seems to even factor these days. And you've got your competition who are addressing this very thing. And I've talked about the likes of KTM, Triumph, BMW, other manufacturers of note, who making smaller motorcycles, not in great numbers, but they've released smaller CC motorcycles in different markets and in European markets in the United States, and they're selling really well. So if you've got other manufacturers who seem to be bucking the trend in terms of the downturn in the global economy, who seem to be selling bikes, who seem to be continuing those sales, all that sales growth, and certain companies are growing in sales numbers, and they've got pretty decent PR as well, then also you factor that in with the massive PR issue that's going on with Harley Davidson now, and throw on top of that dwindling sales over the last sort of 3 or 4 years, then all of a sudden you've got a bit of a problem. CEOs and board of directors, who are they ultimately answerable to? Well, it's the shareholders, right? We all know that. Especially in a company like Harley Davidson, it's the shareholders who they would say really counts. But the problem is the shareholders are only going to be receptive to a new direction as long as profits keep on coming in and as long as continued growth is occurring. They can see in the next few years that their share price is going up, their dividends are healthy as well. So when you're talking about satisfying the shareholders, it's not just about the dividend that they're going to receive or the share price. It is about the overall health of the company, which directly affects share price and dividends in the future. So if you are leading your company in a direction where less and less people are buying your products, and your aim is to sell less products but at a higher profit margin, then ultimately your customer base is going to reduce and reduce. And whilst you're facing a global economic downturn and your competitors are bucking that trend by releasing smaller bikes, smaller CC bikes, and bringing in the next generation of rider, then all of a sudden you've got a big issue. So what can happen now in the future? Where do they go? Well, for many, the CEO and the whole board need to be moved out of Harley-Davidson. They need to go. How that happens, what the mechanism will be, who knows? But in terms of the shareholders, for the here and now, they might be satisfied. But the next year or so, depending on where the dust settles over this whole fiasco, then all of a sudden we might hear a different tune from them as well. Will the CEO have to move on? I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if there's big changes at Harley-Davidson. I also wouldn't be surprised if the sales numbers dramatically reduce over the whole globe, but also the overall profits dramatically reduce as well. This is not to say that this will happen. What I'm saying is I would not be surprised. The opposite view of this is, well, all this bad PR, well, there's no such thing as bad PR. All PR is good PR. It maintains name recognition. It keeps the Harley-Davidson name alive in the ether, as it were. People will soon forget about the woke ideology and all that kind of stuff because they all recognize that every company, every big global player acts like this anyway. Everybody is doing it. So Harley-Davidson are not alone on that. And the products that you already own, the products that you will continue to buy, guess what? All those companies have these policies in place anyway. So you're not going to go and boycott every product just because they've got a certain policy. All you want is a product that you'll buy. Does it work? Does it suit your needs? Do you like it as a product? And are you going to use it? Yes. And if you want to upgrade that product, will you go back to the same company who delivered a good product? Yes. That's essentially what you're interested in. And this should be the wake-up call for all companies out there to say, we just want you to deliver a good product. We don't want all this nonsense, all this noise. We don't care about the politics of the world for you as a company and for me as a consumer. That relationship should be product is good. I want to buy it. Do we meet on price? That's where the issue is. And that's where Harley-Davidson need to kind of readdress things now. They're not producing cheap bikes for the Western markets, whereas the likes of BMW, Triumph are. They don't have entry-level motorcycles. And the bulk of their bikes, the ones that sell the most, let's say, are the ones that are in the 25, 30, 35,000 pound, dollar, shekel mark and more. So how many people are buying them? How many people have money in their pocket or a good credit score to be able to go and buy these things? Well, yes, you would imagine people of my age who have got the money, yes, they might be able to do that. But how many will be doing it and within the same numbers? That's the key thing here. Which way do Harley-Davidson go? Which models are they going to come out with in the future? And which motorcycles are they going to push for their biggest markets? The biggest markets are going to be, well, the United States and Canada, obviously, that's their biggest market. Then the second would be something like Europe. And then the third is probably going to be somewhere like Australia or somewhere like that. Those are the three biggest markets that I can tell right now. So who is going to buy these bikes? And what bikes are you going to produce for the existing riders, but the next riders coming through? The next riders coming through, one, may not even be interested in motorcycles, or two, might be more interested in electric bicycles or scooters or, whatever the case may be. So you've got to drag those people in off the street. Those people who were kind of sitting on the fence have already gone to Triumph, who've already gone to BMW, who've already gone to KTM or any other manufacturer that is producing 400 or 500 cc bikes. Honda, for example, they've already gone there. And you've got to capture those for the next generation. How are you going to do it? What sort of bikes are we going to see from Harley-Davidson? Are we going to see those proper, true entry-level motorcycles in the market? in Europe and also in the United States and Canada and elsewhere. Australia have already taken the lead in terms of entry-level bikes from Harley-Davidson because they've allowed those X350 and X500s from China to be sold as well, but no other market has. So are we going to see a shift there? Are we going to see those bikes being pumped out at a £5,000 shekel mark around the world as well? Are they going to release a lot more bikes with a Revolution Max engine and different size engines and different styles of bikes? Because if I had to say this is where Harley-Davidson truly failed, it's with the Revolution Max engine bikes. They haven't really capitalized on what they had there, and they could have produced many more styles of motorcycles and at a cheaper price as well. So what's happening? Why aren't they doing it? Is it all down to the CEO and the board of directors say, we don't want to sell cheaper bikes? All we want to sell is the bigger bikes. Are they blinded by the bigger profit margin on a smaller number of units sold? Is that what they're thinking? That might be good for the here and now, but it might not be good for the next 20 years, next 15, 20 years. My age group is most likely going to be going for something like a Softail or something like a Bagger, something like that, if you're going to go for a brand new motorcycle, because most likely the plus 40, 50-year-olds are going to have the finances in place to be able to afford those bikes. I'm talking brand new. But how many of us are going to go and buy a brand new bike now as opposed to just dipping into the used bike market? This has got nothing to do with whether I like a Harley Davidson or not. It's actually a question of buying new versus second hand. That's the big question here. And also buying second hand from a dealership, a Harley Davidson dealership in this case, or going to another motorcycle seller or just a private seller as well. That's the big shift here. How do Harley Davidson address that? Do they have to bring out new Revolution Max engine bikes? Do they have to dramatically reduce the prices on all their bikes to kind of generate demand, to kind of meet any demand, and also to help fend off the global economic downturn? Which way do they go? Which way would you want Harley Davidson to go in? Or for that matter, for any motorcycle manufacturer? Should they sort of abandon this kind of electrification route where many of the motorcycle manufacturers have kind of put the brakes on a little bit and they're looking at alternative fuels and alternative engines as well? What about other manufacturers who have looked at the diversity of their product range and they're kind of investing in smaller engine motorcycles as well? Not abandoning the signature motorcycles, of course, but they're still offering something else as well. And this is what Harley Davidson have repeatedly failed to do. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. But which way do Harley Davidson go? Can they get over this whole PR disaster with the woke thing? Should they have come out and said something by now? And can you see a big change at the top to change the direction, to steer Harley Davidson in a new direction? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. And I will catch you again on another video coming very soon. Bye now. RevelatorAlf. The little 400 is bigger than I thought. Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're all well. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. So, I just popped down to my local Triumph dealership, Triumph motorcycle dealership, to have a look at their 400cc motorcycles. Now, my thinking is this, that whether I keep my Harley or not, or whether I go for another Tourer, whether it's a BMW, if I did move, I probably would kind of lean in that direction right now. But at the same time, I think, well, a smaller bike would be a lot better just for running around, that kind of thing, very short distances, maybe even a little commute to work, maybe as a second bike. But also when I go away in my camper, I can just easily put that on the back on a trailer and I could use that as a little runaround. So wherever I'm going, it'll be a little runaround, it'll be cool. And I thought, yeah, that suits me down to the ground. Now, there are lots of other bikes that are really, really cheap, 125s, 250s. So you could easily get a cheaper motorcycle, right? I don't have to go for a Triumph. But I thought, do you know what? Let me go and have a look at these because there's a lot of hype about them. Right now, they've sold 50-odd thousand motorcycles all over the world. This is Triumph for these 400, the two variants, the Speed 400 and the Scrambler 400X. So I thought, let's go and have a look at them. So I popped down there, popped down to the local dealership, just moseyed on in there, and well, I was really impressed by the kind of feel to them, by the finish of them, the way they looked. But also, they're not small bikes either. They kind of, I wouldn't say they're big bikes, but I sat on one on the Scrambler, and yeah, my feet were planted on the floor. I'm 6 foot, planted on the floor, but it felt like quite a big bike. You were upright like this, and it just felt right. I mean, the price of this Scrambler, I think in the UK, is about 5,700. I did an online spec up before I went down there, and if I just spec'd it up just with, a metal sump guard and things like that, and different sort of mud guard or mud guard extenders, all these kind of small adjustments, but nothing drastic, right? Maybe a little windscreen on there as well, just for shits and giggles, right? It's less than £6,000. Let's say £6,000 for a brand new motorcycle, 400cc, that's going to be very capable and still do as fast as I ever want it to go, right? And it will cover a lot of bases. So I thought, you know what, let me go down there, have a look. And I was really impressed. Now, the Scrambler 400X and the Speed 400, they are the same bike, but just slightly different styling, and also the way things are attached. Similar kind of things, like the headlights, same headlight, but the Scrambler 400X has got a grille on it, but also the mounting brackets are different as well. Different handlebars as well on the Scrambler, in that they come up slightly higher, and then they've got the T-bar going across, the bolt-on T-bar as well. So it's silly little things like that. Different sort of mudguard arrangement, different foot peg arrangement, that kind of thing, which you would expect because it's styled as a Scrambler, right? But essentially, underneath all of that, they're exactly the same bike. Still single cylinder, 398 cc's, just shy of 40 horsepower, 39.5, and newton meters at 37.5. So it's not gonna pull a train, but at the same time, they're plenty powerful enough just for pootling around and having a bit of fun. Also, it's quite light as well, comparatively speaking, let's say, to a big bike. And it comes in just shy of 180 kilos, 179 kilos. It's got a 13-litre tank, and it's supposed to do, wait for it, 80.7 miles per gallon. 80.7 miles per gallon. Even if it does half of that, even if it does 2/3 of that, that's still a great, if it does like 50 or 60 miles to the gallon, I'm going to be happy with that. But 80? That is going to be really good. Why would I consider this? Why would I consider a Triumph 400? Well, first of all, it's a Triumph, and it's been built to spec in India with Bajaj, yes, granted, but it's still been built to high specifications. And you can just tell by looking at it, it doesn't look cheap at all. In fact, it looks really expensive. In fact, it looks like a normal Triumph. It seems as if it's been built here in Hinckley or in their Thailand assembly plant as well. Wherever it's built, it just looks like a normal Triumph. The styling is right. The accent cues are right. It just looks right. And when they first came out, I did a few videos on them as well, and I was saying that these look really good. And the footage and the marketing for these bikes was spot on as well by Triumph. So well done to them. What I understand is that there's a bit of a delay in getting the bikes into the country, because maybe they're just in such high demand, these bikes as well. People are, coming in. So I think if you just went for the green version, you pretty much pick one up pretty, straight away. If you want a different color, let's say the red, it might take a couple of months for that bike to come through. So at this early stage, not all the accessories have come through. They think they just start to come through or be made readily available here in the UK, that is. And it could be the same in other parts of the world. But certainly, as the months progress now, you're going to get all the full package of accessories readily on tap. And as more and more people go into Triumph dealerships and kind of ignore the bigger bikes, or even ignore the Bonnevilles and the Speedmasters or whatever, the bobbers of this world, they look at that bike, the Triumph 400, Speed 400, or the Scrambler 400X, and they're going to go, yeah, I'll have a bit of that. That seems like good fun. Now, especially, I know a few people have made remarks about, well, it's only older guys who are going in and buying these bikes, especially like the Scrambler. or even Speed 400, because they're kind of reminiscing of their youth as well. But it doesn't matter who's buying them. The fact is they're being bought. They're being bought in great numbers. So people are buying them. Yes, the demographic of motorcycle riders is getting older and older, and there's lots of reasons for that. But still, these bikes are going out the door. Now, as you can imagine, the guy there, the salesman, was very helpful, very friendly, you know, kind of informative. I was asking him a few questions, and he said, look, we got one. You can take one out for a ride. And I said, look, you know, a little bit pushed for time and maybe another day, but, you know, if I want to go for it, I'll come back and ride it. And, you know, I'd love to go and ride it. It wasn't that I didn't want to ride it. It was just a time issue for me there and then. But one thing that holds me back on this is the other big competitor in this kind of field right now of kind of retro heritage style bikes. And that's Royal Enfield. Royal Enfield just coming out with their 450 Himalayan. They've also just released their other bike, the Guerilla or the Guerilla 450 as well. You know, the liquid cooled engine. Now that's coming in slightly more expensive, from anywhere from, let's say, 5,800 to just over 6,000, according to whichever paint scheme you want. And then obviously if you spec it up, then you're going to add a little bit more onto there. But essentially they're in the same kind of ballpark as the Triumph 400 Scrambler, as is the Himalayan. The Guerilla 450 or the Guerilla 450, which however you want to pronounce these things, well, that's, I suppose you could say, it's more of a like for like against the Speed 400 Triumph. Well, guess what? This is coming in a lot cheaper, just over £5,000, £5,050, I believe. And that's for the higher price paint schemes. But actually, the lowest price as a standard bike is £4,850 in that smoked silver colour. So guess what? It's a cracking bike. So all of a sudden you've got these heritage bikes that people, let's say my age or maybe even younger, can buy a brand new bike for about £5,000, £6,000, brand new. And it's 400cc, 450cc, all the modern tech in terms of, you know, basic riding, but liquid cooled engines. And you think, yeah, they're all right. Now, you could buy 400cc, 500cc bikes for cheaper, certainly in the used bike market. You could certainly buy 250s, 350s, let's say, for a little bit cheaper as well. But for this range, you're getting quite a decent bike. In fact, you're getting a very decent bike that's got enough power to get you down the road in an efficient manner. Sometimes you find with the 250s and even 350s, you know, even for open road riding, they're just a little bit gutless, you know, especially if they're not gutless, they're just really uncomfortable. Well, now you've got a bit of a happy in between. And I'd say, you know, sitting on the Triumph 400X there, yeah, it looked great. It felt great. The Speed 400 felt great. So the only reservation I would have is, well, let me go and have a look at a Himalayan 450 or a Guerilla 450 and say, wow, which is a better buy. And for all the reasons I've said, just a real cheaper little run around, something that I can take with me, you know, on the back of the camper, that kind of thing, or just tow anywhere. Something that I could use a little commuter bike if I wanted to go into town. I could just quickly hop on there and just quickly zip in there, zip out, in and out of traffic. Perfect bike for this kind of thing. I can see why so many people are buying these bikes. I can absolutely see it. There's no issue here. I was having a conversation with a guy at the Harley Davidson garage dealership last week, which is the local one is closing now, as you might have seen in my previous video. But I was saying, if Harley Davidson had the X440 or even the X350 or the X500 and they were selling in the UK at a price that is competitive with these guys, in other words a £5,000, £5,500 bike, I would be looking at that. I would be looking at a smaller Harley Davidson as well for a little run around. Now, whether I would keep my Sport Glide, my Harley Davidson, or whether I'd go on to another bike, I would still think actually this is the right move. The right move is, let's say I have a second bike, is not to have another big bike. The smaller bike, the kind of run around bike, that'd be great. And if it's a Harley Davidson X440 or whatever other bike they could produce, if it came in on price, then yeah, that would be in the conversation as well. But the problem is, it isn't, is it? It's not in, and you know they're going to try and put that Harley tax on. You can imagine that Harley Davidson brought this, the X440, let's say, to the UK. You know, it would be in the region about £6,500, £7,000, maybe even more, £7,500. You can bet your bottom dollar is. Well, that's what, £1,500, £2,000 more than the competition. Who are you going to go to? You're going to go to these guys and not Harley Davidson. But there we go. I'm not going to keep on harping on about that. But I just wanted to make this video because, as I say, The Triumph 400, Speed 400, or the Scrambler 400X, I can see 100% what all the hype is about. I can see why people are making videos about it and riding them and enjoying them. And I can see just by sitting on it, not even riding it, just by sitting on it and having a good look over the bike, it will be a decent bike. Obviously, you got to see if it suits your kind of style of riding. It's going to be a light bike, a cheap bike to run. And that miles per gallon is absolutely great. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. But the Triumph Speed 400 or the 400X Scrambler, not a bad bike to buy. Not a bad bike to buy. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. And I will catch you again in another video coming very soon. Bye now. RevelatorAlf. It's official. Triumph motorcycles are the best. Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're well. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications bell for all future videos. So this is a very quick video, I promise, this time, and it's about Triumph motorcycles, who have been voted the #1 manufacturer by Motorcycle News here in the UK. Yes, now you could say it's a little bit of patriotism, jingoism, if you like, because it's a British company and all that kind of stuff. But actually, for this vote, I think it's probably right. I think they are probably one of the best, if not the best manufacturer this year, certainly of the bigger ones. And it's because of the motorcycles that they produce. And it's not only that they won best manufacturer this year, they also won 5 other titles, like best naked bike, best bike under 1000cc. I think the best bike of the year was the Triumph 400cc, which is getting rave reviews all over the place. I've made various videos on that as well, and how great I think those bikes are. But many of the people out there are really rating what Triumph motorcycles are doing. They're not only producing the expensive bikes, which we all kind of love to hate, as it were, because of the price, but we kind of feel now they're decent bikes. They do produce good bikes. They've got a good reputation. Their kind of strategy of production and the economics of the way they do it seems to be on point as well. But you know, put all that aside, it's actually just the variety of their product range. And then when you're having mid-range bikes, which are really, really good, and you've got upper range bikes or bigger bikes, which are really, really great, especially, you know, the Tiger bike, 1200 and 900, fantastic bikes. You've got the Rocket 3, which is, you know, lots of people saying what a fantastic bike that is. But then you get the 675s and, you know, the 660s in the mid-range. But what, you know, the Pearl has been this 400cc. They've sold 50,000-60,000 units this year already, and it's just an amazing success story. So it's no surprise that Triumph motorcycles have been voted the best manufacturer this year. And what do other manufacturers have to do to compete? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. But I can't say I disagree. Let us know your thoughts. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. And I will catch you again in another video coming very soon. Bye now. RevelatorAlf. Is this the best home fix for your Harley-Davidson Softail? Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're well. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for future videos. So, what I love about the motorcycling community, about bikers in general, it's the ingenuity. It's the ideas that float around. And people can just come up with fixes for different things. And I think it's great. And I love hearing about it. So when a guy called Ian, he sent me this. He told me about this for Harley-Davidson Softails. It's the gap at the rear fender there that I've made templates to close up with this flap thing here that you stick down there. Watch all my videos way back in the day, and lots of people have used that template to manufacture their own flaps so no dirt and grime gets all over the electricals. When Ian sent me photos of this and sent me the idea of this and actually sent me one of these, I thought that's fantastic. That's really, really great. What I love about it is that as technology is evolving, more technology is available for people at home to come up with their own solutions. So here we're talking about 3D printers, right? 3D printers, you come up with something, you think, actually, I want to make a part for that. I can make it, right? So he's come up with it. Fantastic. So essentially, this is what it is. There's a Harley-Davidson Softail. There's that stupid gap at the rear fender there, where all the grime off the rear wheel can go all over your electricals. Why is that gap there? I believe this is a Harley-Davidson fault in their electrical, which it could overheat. So they put that gap there so it allows cooling air over the electricals, which I think is a bit of a nonsense myself there, but there we go. I'm not 100% sure. That nobody's ever given me a proper answer, but I think that's what it is. If you look at a lot of the bikes now, a lot of the CVOs, a lot of the 2024 bikes, they're having battery and electrical issues, overheating issues, and a lot of that is down to restricted airflow over the electricals, so causing it to heat up. So you say, well, why is it heated up in the first place? Anyway, I digress. The gap is there, we know it's there, they haven't fixed it, they haven't closed it up, so it's come up to us in the motorcycling world to find a fix. So we did find a fix with a flap over it, just to close up the gap. Now we've got something that's all more permanent, essentially. So there's the gap, there's this plastic bit here, it just goes in there like that as well, and it sits right there. And you just basically put a screw in there to tap it in, and it holds it in place. So you've basically blocked off the hole. It's a very simple fix, and it's just a homemade part, which I absolutely love. So if you don't want this grimy, horrible flap on your bike like I've got, hey, you might want to get something like this. So I'm going to get in touch with Ian and tell him what I think of this. And also I'll see if he wants me to put his contact details below, because he is making them, but it's only for his own use, really. I think he sold a couple. There are some variations, as we know, with the Harley-Davidson Softail models in terms of that rear suspension. So he's made a couple of different variations on this now for that. Okay, so you're going to have to tell him what bike you've got, then he'll be able to kind of modify this a little bit as well. But I just think this is amazing from the Harley-Davidson world, from the motorcycling community, that you come up with fixes. Then somebody else, a little bit later on, they look at what your fix was and say, I can improve on that, I'll make something else. And that's fantastic. You know, so I'm not here saying, oh God, somebody's made a better fix than me. Nothing like that. I think it's fantastic. I think somebody's made a better fix than I've made for the Harley-Davidson Softail. So there we go. Ian Treble, well done, sir. Take a bow. That's a fantastic, simple invention. A simple bit of ingenuity. So it closes up the gap. There still is a little bit of a gap all right on the side. Lets a little bit of airflow, as did the flap did. It's a great fix. It's a great fix. So there we go. Harley-Davidson never going to fix that gap for whatever reason that they're hiding from us. But there we go. Thanks to the likes of Ian, we've come up with another solution. Well done, Ian. I love it. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for future videos, and we'll catch you again on another video coming very soon. Bye now. RevelatorAlf. So BMW are going to bring out a brand new R1300 RT. Let's get into this one. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're well. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for future videos. So I'm in a different location here today, just improvising as I go. And BMW, about a month ago, lots of news started coming out of their new R1300 RT that is coming out possibly in next year, 2025. And there's been lots of photos of, or spy photos of this bike being tested. So when the 1300 GS came out, actually there was lots of news and rumors about that and speculation for a good year and a half before it came out. And I think I made videos at the time saying that a new GS is coming with a 1300 or so. At the time, we're also speculating where the RT would get it, because they share the same engine, right, of the 1250. So now it appears this is to be the case. So the question is now, would you hop to a 1300 RT, or would you stick with a 1250 RT? Now, just judging by the spy photos, which you can't really go by because the aesthetics of the bike, the panels, let's say, they might be completely different when the bike comes into production. And they're already talking about that the 1300 RT might be shown at some of the autumn motorcycle shows as well. So watch out for that. I mean, the 1300 GS was announced last September. So we could be looking at a September, October announcement of the RT as well. But the question is, would you hop to it? If you're in the market for an RT, great touring motorcycle, the BMW RT and the K1600, I was very tempted to, move away from a Harley Davidson and go to that bike, the RT, because I thought it was just an overall package was fantastic. Aesthetically, I'm not so sure about it, and it is a little bit dull on the senses compared, let's say, to a Harley Davidson Street Glide or even a Road Glide, for example, which I'll call like for like. But in terms of the way it rides and its maneuverability and overall package is fantastic. Now, one of the criticisms of the R1300 GS is that it's a little bit, the nose fairing, the fairing area is a little bit meh, and the overall size of it, it's not as imposing as the R1250 GS. So will the R1300 RT, will that suffer the same fate? And say, if you look at some of the spy photos, the fairing area is just completely, it's horrible. And the light and the small lights that it's got as for a headlight LED light, that just looks way off. It looks completely wrong as well. So it'd be very interesting to see what the finished product, let's say, the R1300 RT will actually look like. So in terms of engine coming across, it's still going to be the same as the R1300 GS. 147 horsepower, 149 newton meters of torque or thereabouts. Whether it's going to be tuned slightly differently, being in an RT, but essentially it's going to be the same engine, same liquid cooled engine coming across, or the liquid cooled heads. You're going to have a bit more bang for your buck. A lot of the design features from the R1300 GS are likely to come over in terms of chassis, in terms of suspension as well. Also that ASA, that automatic clutch setup that they've got as an option for the R1300 GS for 2025. And it's going to be an option here for the RT as well, no doubt. But whilst the 1300 as an engine package and chassis and all the other systems that it's got on board is kind of been in the ether, let's say, it's been on the market for a year. So a lot of those niggles they would be working through. The R1300 RT won't be a brand new model in that sense. So it won't suffer, or you would hope it wouldn't suffer, those first year problems or the first couple of year problems where lots of issues, come up on a brand new machine. But there's a deal to be done here. There's a deal to be done in a fourth year 1250 RT, which is pretty much going to be a fantastic bike. And it's whether you just want to jump up those few extra horsepower and those few extra newton meters of torque, and when you want to go for the brand new styling, or when it comes to 2025 and when they actually start delivering these R1300 RTs to the market, what about 1250 RTs that are still unsold? There's a deal to be done on those bikes. I think the R1250 RT is a fantastic bike as it is. I was really impressed with the older version. When I rode the brand new version, I was doubly, triply impressed. I thought it was absolutely fantastic bike. As I say, a little bit dull on the senses, but overall the riding sensation was just brilliant. Fantastic bike. And aesthetically, from the rear going forward, let's say to the mid part of the bike, the seating part, there's not a lot of changes, it appears, on the R1300 RT in terms of the boxes and everything like that. So going forward from that point, there's got to be some decent changes to the spy photos for me to want to kind of leap into that bike straight away. I'm just going to hold fire on any decision, certainly whether I'm either going to move away from a Harley Davidson, but whether this brand new 1300 RT is going to be head and shoulders above the existing 1250 RT, which is just a great buy. And certainly when this 1300 RT comes out eventually, whenever it is 2025, you'll be able to make a really good decision at that point whether to go to the new 1300, the brand new model, or whether just to get a really good deal on a brand new 1250 RT that hasn't been sold, or let's say one that's a year old, very, very low mileage. Somebody else has suffered the depreciation on it, and you probably get a very low mileage 2,000 or 3,000 mile RT for £3,000 or £4,000 less than you would normally paid, or maybe even a little bit more. So very interesting with the R1300 RT. We kind of knew it was coming. We kind of suspected it was coming. There's lots of rumours about it. We're certainly asking questions about it. But now it seems as if it's a reality over the last sort of month or so. Lots of people have made videos about it. I don't think many people have talked about the aesthetics of it, because we can't really tell what those aesthetics are. Certainly if the headlight arrangement as it is, and that big sort of square fairings there, it's not very pleasing to the eye, I've got to say. So they're going to have to change it up a little bit for me to suddenly say, yes, there is a bump in performance, but the R1250 RT is still the better bike, or the better bike now. It could be that in a year's so time, or in 2 years' time, that R1300 RT is the better bike. But we won't know until we actually see the bike and we actually ride it for the first time. But let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Are you looking at a new Tourer? Would you consider a BMW? I certainly would. I think they're fantastic machines for that style of riding. And would you consider the 1300 over the 1250 in terms of the RT? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And hopefully next time you'll see me either on the road or back in the studio. And I'll catch you again in another video coming very soon. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for future videos. And I will catch you again in another video coming very soon. Bye now. RevelatorAlf. More Harley-Davidson dealerships are closing down. What's going on? Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're all well. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications bell for future videos. So yesterday, I got an email from a kind gentleman, and he said, yeah, I've got a few issues with my bike, but also have you heard that our local Harley-Davidson dealership to me and another one is closing down? I was like, oh, well, no, I didn't know that. Thanks for letting me know, all that sort of stuff. I'm paraphrasing here, of course. So last night, when I got back from work, I thought, let me just take a ride out. I know it's a Thursday, so they usually have a bike meet on a third Thursday of the month. So I thought, what, let me just pop down and see what's what. So there it was. I rode down there, and not many people there. By the time I got there, I arrived a little bit late, and I just met a few people I know, and yeah, they confirmed it. Yeah, it's all happening. The guys who worked there, I think they were told literally the day before the announcement. And on the 28th of September, the dealership in Reading in the UK, which is literally 2 minutes down the road from me, that's my local dealership, and the one in Watford by the same Lind Group, who owned 4 Harley dealerships and I think a couple of BMW dealerships and maybe a Triumph dealership as well. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, they're setting up shop. Now, is this got anything to do with what's been going on recently with Harley-Davidson? I don't think so. I think this has got nothing to do with it at all. I think it's got more to do with repeated dwindling sales from Harley-Davidson over many years, and also the way the company has kind of been, I'm not saying they've been forcing motorcycles onto dealerships all around the world, but maybe just not working with dealerships to get the right kind of motorcycles that they really want and can sell. That's probably more to the point. But nonetheless, it's a bit of a shocking thing to happen because not only are these 2 dealerships closing in the next month, we had one in Norwich close a few months ago. There's 2, well, one in Manchester and one in Chester. That closed down at the same time a couple of months ago as well. So that's essentially 5 dealerships in the space of a few months that I can think of. Maybe there are more, I just don't know. And this is only in the UK. So what's going on? What is it that not only in the UK, but I would assume around Europe, and I assume in certainly the United States this is happening. In fact, this is happening. Why are dealerships closing down? Why aren't they selling motorcycles? Why aren't they able to keep the doors open? Well, is it all down to price of brand new motorcycles, or the kind of merchandise that they're selling and the price point at which they're selling the merchandise? I mean, last night they were selling it off at, I think it was at 30% discount and everything. I was saying, well, are they selling the bikes at a 30% discount? You know what I mean? But funny enough, I had a little walk around the bikes, and yeah, they were selling them at £2,000 or £3,000, £4,000 off what the mark price would be in some cases. And this was for 0 miles, or, you know, very like a 1 year model with about 200 or 300 miles on there, just a £3,000 or £4,000 difference. So, you know, there's a deal to be done there. Even though the dealership is closing, the Lind Group, the umbrella company that owns one of the dealerships, is still operational, and they're still running Harley-Davidson dealerships as well. So even if you're going to buy a bike last night, let's say, or today or tomorrow, you're still within the group. So, you know, it's just like buying from a regular dealership. It's just that these ones are closing down. So why is it? What is happening? Is it a corporate thing, the pressure put on dealerships? And, you know, they've all been made to come into line with an identity change and all this kind of stuff. And the cost that's been put onto the dealerships to adopt this new corporate identity. You know, is this the pressure that dealerships haven't been able to withstand? Coupled with that, the downturn in the economy, the global economy, coupled with the fact, you know, if you wanted to borrow money, it's going to cost you even more. Maybe people are just looking at less expensive bikes, or bikes with better value, whether you're a Harley-Davidson fan or not, or whether, even if you're an ardent Harley-Davidson fan, whether you're just going to the used bike market. So here's one of my questions I was supposed to say, well, if you're a Harley-Davidson dealership selling brand new bikes, then to keep the doors open, how about just trying to sell a lot of used bikes? No, you do. I know you do. That's the thing. But are those used bikes too expensive? Well, we know they are. They're quite elevated prices as well on those. They keep their money. But I've been talking about this for such a long time in terms of price point and Harley-Davidson, and they could be getting themselves into trouble, or a point where people are just not going to buy it. Now, I was speaking to a couple of people last night. You know, great to meet them, by the way. I was saying that, you know, it's not really our age group that is the issue here, because at some point you're either going to afford to buy it or not afford to buy it. It's that new generation coming through. It's always the new generation. You know, 20-year-olds are not going to spend minimum £12,000, £13,000, dollars, shekels, whatever it is, on a Harley-Davidson, the lowest bike that it'll be. Let's say the Nightster, whatever that price point is, right? They're not going to spend that. They're going to spend, you know, £4,000 or £5,000, £6,000, let's say, dollars on a brand new bike, as a small bike, or they're going to go into a used bike, which is going to be something like a Sportster, an old Sportster, if you're going to buy a Harley Davidson, right? That's what you're going to naturally go to, because you also got to factor that young people don't have a high credit rating, high credit score. They're not going to have their money in the bank to go and put cash down. And also the cost of running that bike is going to be quite expensive, and also the insurance as well. So lots of factors are against young people buying expensive motorcycles. And if Harley-Davidson as a company have positioned themselves, as I keep on saying, to only sell expensive motorcycles, even if you consider the entry-level ones, which are the Nightster, let's say, you know, they're still £12,000. That's not entry-level price, is it? So we've kind of talked about this a lot, or I have as well. And yeah, I've been either criticised, or I've been, you know, people I've identified with what I've been saying. But this has been a long time coming. So now dealerships are closing, and do you know what? It was going off on a tangent here. I was watching a Clint Eastwood movie last night, a very good movie called The Mule, right? And I was it was really sad to see a really old man on screen. It was great, don't get me wrong, because I always had this kind of sense that, well, let's face it, he's not got many years left. But I've had a whole lifetime of watching Clint Eastwood movies, right? And, you know, it's almost part of, you know, my identity, because I know his films so well, you know. And, you know, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, still one of my favourite films of all time. So having that kind of relationship with something, whether it's personal to me or not, when it's gone, you know you're going to have a sense of loss, regardless of whether it's sentimental, whether it's real or not. There's a sense of loss. So here now, Harley Davidson, I know it's just a dealership, I know, but it was somewhere where I would pass by, I would always look, and because it's so close to me as well, I'd pop in on a regular basis just to have a coffee or just to buy some parts or whatever, just have a little snoop around, just to do a bit of research for myself, on prices and everything like that. And or do some test rides or whatever it was, so I would always be in there or from time to time. So when it's closing down, you're kind of feeling, well, there's going to be a bit of a loss here. There's something within your daily pattern or your weekly pattern that's just not going to happen anymore. I'm sure you get over it, right? It's not, oh, woe is me, tears are running down my cheek or anything. But you got to feel sorry also for the employees there, because they were given, I believe, I don't know what's gone on behind the scenes, but they're given a day's notice to say, look, they're shutting up shop. And, it's got to be hard for them because they need to go and find other jobs, right? And all this kind of stuff. But it begs the question, what is happening, especially with Harley Davidson products, that they're just not able to keep the doors open on some of these dealerships. Some of it is by corporate design, I get it, but maybe it's a lot to do with businesses and dealerships just not wanting to be associated with the Harley Davidson name, and maybe they just can't sell the bikes, they just can't sell the merchandise or enough of it to keep the doors open. Usually these dealerships now, they're quite big, elaborate places and they're expensive to run. So, yeah, they have to sell enough product to keep the lights on, right? To pay all the employees, to sell enough parts. And if you're not doing that, or if people are being more frugal and not wanting to spend that, then you're going to have a problem, right? You're going to have it stands to reason. But it's happening with alarming regularity, I would say now. It's happening it's 5 dealerships that I can think of here in the UK just in the last few months. I'm sure it's a lot more in the United States. And you throw in all the latest thing that's been going on with Harley Davidson as well. And you throw in all the pricing and obviously the economic downturn. And especially what I've been calling for so long. And people, again, have either agreed with me or disagreed with me. That's not a problem if you disagree with me. But the point is that if you've got your competitors that are selling small CC motorcycles and they're flying out the door, they're selling like hotcakes, and I'm going to name one in particular, Triumph with their 400s, right? They sell those bikes at, however many they've sold, 50, 60,000, right? Well, that keeps the money coming in, doesn't it? That keeps the lights on. That keeps people employed. Why have Honda done this for years and years and years? They sell millions of bikes a year, and most of them, the bulk of them, are not your 1000cc sports bikes. They're not your Honda Goldwings. They're the little mopeds, right? They're the ones. This is what I've always said. If you don't have diversity within your product range, if you're not able to sell small motorcycles that get people invested not only in motorcycle transport and motorcycling, but also as a passion, but also into the name Honda, Triumph, then you're never going to get those customers. You're only likely to get those customers when they've reached 40 or 50. Well, that's a long time to wait until you're getting a good market share. And if in that meantime people have gone to other brands or they're not into motorcycling anymore, then you're going to have a problem. I just think it's sad. I think it's sad that not only my local dealership is closing, but another one in Watford is closing as well. And I think, I feel sorry for obviously the people who are losing their jobs. Of course I am. But it's all, I would love to know, of course. I don't know what's gone on behind the scenes and why the decision was made, of course. I'm not privy to that information. But it just appears to me that there's an opportunity lost here. There's an opportunity lost by the company as, the corporation, and either working with the dealerships or providing product appropriately to the dealerships so that they can sell them properly. And also the structure and the demands that they put on dealerships to operate in a certain way under license, let's say. There seems to have been a bit of a problem here in the last few years in the way they've changed things. And look, pressure is mounting on the CEO, right, on Jochen's side, and the board of directors. And they're answerable to the shareholders, and I've said this in a previous video as well, but they're also answerable to the customer base. And the customer base has been saying there's something wrong for a long, long time. Even before Jochen Zeitz came onto the scene, they've been saying there's something wrong for a long, long time. There was backlash when they tried to go into different markets, that More Roads program or that Many Roads program, because many thought they were abandoning the core principles or what they thought was the big bikes. Well, you don't have to abandon anything. You can still sell those bikes, But you can also sell other bikes. And if your core audience who only like the big bikes, the big baggers or the Softails, don't like those bikes, well, they don't have to buy them, do they? But you got young people who might want to buy them, and they could be your future bagger rider. That's the thing. So not only have they been messing this up, their relationship with Harley-Davidson riders or potential new riders, not only have they had a weird strategy in terms of pricing or the kind of products that they want to sell at a higher price point for profit margins, premium products and for premium prices and everything like that. But now coupled with everything else, this could be a big thing. This could be an indication that not only a dealership starting to fail, but also the company is starting to fail as well. The pressure is going to be on the CEO and the board of directors. And as we were saying last night as well, if the CEO changed and a new CEO came in with a fresh vision that kind of was open and transparent and actually said, look, this is what we're going to try and do. We're going to try and make these kinds of bikes. We're going to release that bike. We're going to release that bike. I'm really surprised that Harley-Davidson this year have not released a new bike in sort of July time. When you thought sort of mid-season, fan the flames a little bit, release a new bike, everybody start talking about it. But YouTube channels like me would say, oh, no, this is a new bike, right? Yeah. But nothing. There's been nothing since January. So you think, what's going on? What's going on? Maybe they were about to release a new bike, but all this PR disaster they've had with the woke has kind of put that to bed. Who knows? Soon we'll be into the autumn season. It's just around the corner. So all of a sudden you kind of lost that opportunity. Now maybe you're going to release an autumn bike, but you're kind of missing out on the riding season to hit with a bang. So what, you're going to wait until January now? That's pretty much a whole year of inactivity. That's inactivity. Yes, I know they release the bikes in January, but I'm saying for a mid-season bike reveal, that's what they've been doing for the last 2 or 3 years. So you would kind of think, well, maybe they would do it again. Nothing. So they don't seem to be helping themselves. They don't seem to be helping the dealerships. All the dealerships are not helping themselves as well. Who's to blame here? I do not know. What's the reason for dealerships closing? I'm sure there are individual reasons, of course, so you can't be a blanket reason. But there'd be trouble up at mill, as we used to say here in the UK, and it'd be interesting to see exactly what it is. Now, the flip side to this is that the dealerships who remain, even let's say within this umbrella company which was just closing down 2 dealerships, the remaining dealerships that they have got will be able to mop up that business. So you could say that if you close down 2 dealerships, but you just focus all your sales on one dealership or another or 2 remaining dealerships, then your proportion can get a lot more sales there. So they should do better, right? People are going to take their bikes there for servicing. They're going to go there for parts. You just have to travel further. You'll probably make a day of it, a ride out there, that kind of thing. So that's going to happen. So it might not all be doom and gloom in that respect. But I think it's just still a sad day, a sad indictment, in the motorcycle world perhaps, but also in the Harley-Davidson world. You got to think about these as meeting places, as destination places, as hog chapters, meeting there, all that kind of stuff. Well, whilst that doesn't disappear because they have other places to meet, it's still a focus, isn't it? A focal point for people to go. Whether going to a dealership is your thing or not. I mean, my going to a dealership for a social reason was never my thing. It's more of a practical thing. I'd go in there just to see what's what, get parts, all that sort of stuff. So, but for other people, it's a major social thing, and obviously now that's gonna end for your local one. So you're gonna have to travel. That's it. I mean, that's the way it is. You're just going to have to travel to get your Harley-Davidson social fix, aren't you? But there we go. I think it's a bit of a sad day, really, in many respects. Your local dealership closing. You can see that it extends beyond just motorcycles and T-shirts, that there's people's real lives being affected here. The workers, that is, the employees. And there was a somber tone to everything last night. Well, there appeared to be, from my point of view, and quite rightly so. I feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for everybody involved, even the management, even the owners who are having to make this decision. I don't think they wanted to make it lightly. I don't think they enjoy making these decisions. Of course they don't. No business owner, wants this. It's just a day. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. But if you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications bell for future videos. And I'll catch you again. Another video coming very soon. Bye now.
RevelatorAlf.
Is the Harley-Davidson ancestral home under threat? Let's get into this one. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're well. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for future videos. So, the ancestral home of, well, not Harley-Davidson, but the Davidson family, as we know, it's in Scotland. The little two-room cottage, as it were, it's under threat. Why is it under threat? Well, let's dig into this a little bit further. Father Davidson actually emigrated over to the United States from Scotland, and where he was living until 11 years old. The cottage where he grew up, that was left to rack and ruin until it was rescued in 2008 by three Harley-Davidson enthusiasts who basically saw this derelict house, a derelict building, and they recognized what it was, and they put together a plan to buy it and restore it, which they did. So Mike Sinclair, Maggie Sherritt, and Keith McIntosh, they set about over the next few years just getting the finance. They did up all the house, and they made it into what they restored it to what they believed it should have been back in 1857, where Father Davidson grew up as a young boy. And it's become a bit of a mecca for Harley-Davidson enthusiasts to ride it to Angus in Scotland and to go visit the house. So what's the problem? What's gone on? But in 2021, the house was put up for sale, but there have been no takers. Well, no takers, no offers from your normal people, apart from property developers. So the Davidson Legacy Cottage project, the charity really, they're trying to, well, get this house. They're trying to buy it. Now, they got part funding from the government, and they've been able to get some further funding, but they've been putting out funding requests all over the place, and nobody's biting. Nobody wants to fund this project or just to keep the house alive. So the Harley-Davidson cottage could easily be bought out by property developers, and it could be knocked down, quite simply. Now, as you can imagine, in this very quiet rural area, the cottage itself, because it attracts so many Harley-Davidson enthusiasts, has become a bit of a mecca. It's become a bit of a tourist attraction. So the original restoration of the cottage is kind of expanded into the grounds and the facilities that they provide as well. So it's not just the cottage, I would imagine. It's a little bit further around where we're talking about the property as a whole. But the question is, who is selling it? And also, why are there so many problems in trying to buy this property or have it protected? Now, the figures involved to protect this house is quite astounding, really, considering it's only a very small property. If we're just talking about property prices in that area of the country, well, it's a lot of money, in my opinion. But when you add in the legacy of the Davidson thing, especially if you're a fan, then you can see why the value would be so high. But you got to understand, this is just not for a very small cottage. This is for a little bit more than that. It's my understanding. There's a charity that is running it. You can have functions there. You can have day trips there as well. I think you could rent out the cottage as well to stay in it at certain points as well. There are other facilities there. Their plan is to expand the range of facilities there and offer more in terms of a tourist attraction. So this is why this is not just about saving that cottage. It's almost like saving a tourist attraction and the potential to make it an even bigger tourist attraction. That's what they're really saving. Well, certainly that's my understanding as well. But they just can't get the funding. They've got part government funding, which is going to be taken away if they can't match the funding. I think it comes into the region of about a total of 500,000. There are various figures being thrown around, £320,000 up to £500,000, or maybe what the property is valued at. But they can take in 320 or 340,000 just to buy this property and just to keep it safe. But they may need extra money just to pay it off a little bit more. Regardless, they haven't got the money. So they've got until about October to try and save this property from being sold. But is it the three original owners who bought this property and restored it, or is it somebody else who's trying to sell it? The people who are trying to sell it, said that they're just retiring. But we don't really know, well, what else are they trying to do with the property? Are they desperate just to keep it within the charity? Then if they're that desperate to not let it go to a property developer, why can't some sort of deal be done? Why can't they just sell it for a reduced price just so the charity can buy it? Maybe they are trying to do that. Maybe they're not trying to sell it for market value at 500,000. They're willing to take 320. Let's say, I'm making up these figures as I go along here, but that's what I've been reading. Maybe that's what they've accepted. But the fact of the matter is that the market value is at 500,000 and maybe even a little bit more if property developers get on board. So this little cottage has been a tourist destination for many Harley Davidson fans who especially just right up there in the spring, summer and autumn go up to Angus and just go check out the cottage. But that's not enough. You're going to need a lot more than that to save this cottage. If you're not a Harley Davidson fan, if you're a motorcycle fan, if you're not into motorcycles at all, you're unlikely to take a beeline to go and see this cottage, in my opinion. And when you get there, there isn't a lot to see. Really, if you think about it, it's just a cottage. Obviously, they're going to give you talks about the history and what would be going on there during that time. But in terms of Harley Davidson, well, this was all before Harley Davidson was a thing. Well, certainly Davidson got into his shed and started tinkering away with bike engines. So what is there to save? Has this tourist attraction just been made up, for want of a better word, because it's the ancestral home? It's been given more credence than it deserves. I don't believe that. I think there is some credence to this property and because it is the ancestral home. I do believe it would be even more if one of the brothers Davidson actually lived there. If this was their actual home, if it was the three brothers who were born in Scotland and they lived there until 11, 12 years old and then they all went off to United States, that would give it a lot more of appeal, I would imagine. But as it stands now, I just don't think there is that appeal. And that's why they're probably struggling to get financing and get supporters for this. If you're interested in finding out more about the Davidson Legacy Cottage, just go to their website, davidsonlegacycottage.org. Now, of course, if you want to help, if you want to support, if you want to help buy this property for the charity, then of course you can lend your support there. But it begs the question, if they don't manage to buy the property and you've donated, then what happens to the money as well? I would imagine all the money's got to come back. I don't really know. I don't know what the legalities are of taking money for a certain project by a charity and then ultimately that project fails. What happens to this property at the end of October? Because this is where the money from the government will be withdrawn unless they can match that. And if they can't match that, then they'll never be able to buy it. This is the key thing here. They're not going to be able to buy this property at all because there won't be any government funding for it. Because in terms of Scottish heritage or British heritage or English heritage, there isn't actually anything there. This is an American company. It's the ancestral home of three brothers who were born in the United States to a father who once lived in Scotland when he was 11 years old. So in terms of heritage for England and Scotland, especially Scotland, there isn't anything there, I would imagine. So that's why you would imagine that the money could be withdrawn from the government. So well, if you can't match it, we're giving you an olive branch here, but if you can't match it, we're going to use that money for something else. What happens to the property afterwards? What will the owners do? Will they sell this property or not? And as I say, I don't really know who owns the property. Is it the original three who bought and restored it? Or is it somebody else? Is it only just one of them? Whoever it is who owns this property is retiring, don't want anything more to do with it, and they're looking for somebody to come in and take it over and to buy it off them. Well, perhaps they could look at maybe a part ownership or maybe just renting it out so they still keep the property but they rent it out, something like that. Perhaps something can be done so that the Davidson Legacy Cottage charity, as it were, they don't have to buy it. There's a thought. If you know a lot more details about the cottage and the history and of course the current plight, please let us know in the comments below as well. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for future videos. And I will catch you again, another video coming very soon, and hopefully, the charity will be able to get this thing sorted and the Legacy Cottage will be saved. Because, as I say, it is a mecca for Harley Davidson enthusiasts and also motorcycle enthusiasts. If you're going up to Scotland, hey, there's something to go and see and just find out a little bit of history. And I always believe it is really important to hold on to history as well and know where our history comes from, as it were. Catch you again. Bye now. So are Indian Motorcycles about to hammer home that final nail in the coffin that houses Harley Davidson? Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're well. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications bell for all future videos. So I'm away from the studio and the road again. I'm in the office, but I thought I'd bring this video because I noticed on some of my comments and also some other videos that I've seen, there's been the anti-Harley Davidson reaction, this backlash, and a lot of people saying that they're going to go over to Indian. That whole thing again, Harley Davidson versus Indian, but lots of people saying, well, we're going to move away from Harley Davidson, selling our bikes, getting rid of them and going over to Indian. In fact, lots of Indian dealerships have been quoting saying, look, we've had so many people, a lot of foot traffic coming in from Harley Davidson riders saying that they want to trade in their bikes and they're just too many bikes to trade in. They can sell the Indians, but they just can't take the Harleys in trade, or certainly not for the prices, the values that the people want. They're going to offer them a lot less. So that means that there's a downward pressure on the resale values of Harley Davidsons as well. So does this mean that Indian can capitalize on Harley Davidson's woes? Well, there's no doubt they're going to pick up a bit of business. There is no doubt that people who are alienated by Harley Davidson are going to go to Indian. But let's face it, they're a like-for-like company, really. Their kind of policies are going to be much of a muchness. You know, Harley Davidson have had this whole DAI issue called out. My last video talked about their supply diversity issues now being called into question and possible supply chain issues. But Indian and Polaris, I'm sure, had these kind of policies as well. They've only just recently taken them off their website. Just quite a few other companies have done the same recently in fear of a backlash. But at the same time, they're much of a much company. One of the biggest criticisms Harley Davidson have is not only the quality of their bikes and the way the customers are treated by dealerships or also by the company, but also the unit price of these products as well. And Indian, for the most part, are much of the same as well. So what are the real options for anybody who wants to leave Harley Davidson? Do they have to go to Indian? Well, only if you want an American-made motorcycle that is of a mass producer, unless you're going to have to go to a bespoke producer in the United States, something like, well, they used to be called Confederate. What are they called now? Let me know in the comments what that company is called. But they're making just handmade motorcycles for sort of very small numbers. There are a few around the United States. You could go to Arch Motorcycle, Keanu Reeves motorcycle manufacturer, of course, that kind of thing. But essentially, Indian is the most logical choice for you if you want to have some kind of selection. If you're not really concerned about going to an American motorcycle manufacturer, then obviously the obvious choice would be go to something like BMW with their R18, or the R1250 RT, or the K1600 if you want to come away from the V-twin world. But you could also go to any manufacturer with an adventure motorcycle as well. If you go to Honda with their Goldwing, it'd be interesting if Triumph ever try and jump on this little episode that Harley Davidson have, and whether they would come out with a big retro tourer as well, something like they used to have the Triumph Thunderbird or something like that with the Storm. Go back to something like that, a parallel twin with bags on it and with a big fairing on it, like a bagger touring bike. It'd be interesting if they ever did that. I doubt that they would, but it'd be interesting. But I can't see Indian making that much ground on Harley Davidson right now, because a lot of the problems that people are facing is based on price and based on just affordability. And if you can't afford a Harley Davidson, you're not going to be able to afford an Indian as well. You know, especially for those touring type motorcycles. So you're going to have to go into the second-hand market, the used bike market. Now, you might move away from Harley Davidson and go to a used Indian, of course, or any other bike, or just go to a used Harley Davidson. That would be my suggestion. If you don't want to buy new and you want to boycott the company, well, hit them where it hurts and don't buy new. Just go and buy used if that's your deal. I just can't see Indian making that much headway in this market until there's a mass collapse in Harley Davidson. I really can't see it. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. And I will catch you again. Another video coming very soon. Maybe back in the studio, maybe on the road. Who knows? Catch you again. Bye now. RevelatorAlf. Just ignore all the Harley Davidson politics and ride your damn bike. Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're well. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for future videos. So, a comment which I get on videos, and I actually see on many other YouTuber videos as well when it comes to motorcycling, and also certainly for Harley Davidson, is to say, look, just ride your damn bike. Just ignore all what's been going on. Just ride your damn bike. Just enjoy it for what it is. And if you're going to buy a new one, you buy a new one. If you buy a used one, you buy a used one, right? And beneath all of the video content that I've been making recently, I've felt exactly the same. Okay, whilst I've been talking about all these issues, I have been trying to say that it hasn't really affected me. I haven't really felt that way myself. I either like the bike or I don't like the bike. I either like the brand or I don't like the brand. So all that other stuff, it doesn't really affect me. But I can see it affects other people, and I respect how it affects other people as well. But the notion that you should be adversely affected by what's going on with a corporation is never really rung true with me. I never really thought that way about any company. Just because a company might be doing something in a certain way, it doesn't affect me, because at the end of the day, I'm just a consumer of that product. What I'm more concerned with is the quality of that product, the price of that product, and the after-sales service of that product, or the quality of that after-sales service as well, in terms of warranties, in terms of servicing, in terms of parts availability, all that kind of stuff. That's what I'm mostly interested in. And also the residual value of that product once I've bought it as well, in terms of depreciation. Those are the things that I'm really interested in. I'm not really interested in how the company operates, or if they're going to bring out a brand new motorcycle that I don't particularly like. I've always said that I'm not a Harley Davidson channel, and I'm not necessarily a Harley Davidson motor company fan. I just like some of their motorcycles, not all, but I like some of their motorcycles, but I love the motorcycle that I ride, the Harley Davidson that I ride, okay? And I've ridden that for, 5 years now? And that's the bike that I've had the best connection with, well, for many a year. So it's a bike that I really value. And there are lots of other Harley Davidson motorcycles that I really value as well. I like a lot of them. But that doesn't mean that I have any kind of affinity with a dealership, or any affinity with the motorcycle company themselves. So I can distance myself and separate myself from what the company has been getting up to for the last month, or the backlash that it's been receiving as well. In fact, I've always been able to distance myself from what the company does, but I'll report on it from a YouTuber point of view. I'll discuss it from that point of view, because I kind of find it interesting, but it doesn't really affect me. And, it appears that many of you out there as well feel exactly the same. Some of you are more hard and fast about your opinions, of course, but, others are very much sort of balanced and say, look, I just want to ride my bike. I just want to enjoy it, whatever it is. And if I don't enjoy it anymore, I'll sell it and go and buy something else. That's pretty much where I've always been with motorcycles. I love them for what they are. I love the feeling I get when I'm riding them. There's no better feeling for me from that point of view. And there are so many psychological benefits and social benefits and, environmental benefits, would you believe, for riding motorcycles as well. And I kind of touched on those many times in the past, which I'm not going to do now. But the point is that when you're riding your motorcycle, then you're supposed to be leaving the world behind a little bit. You're supposed to just enjoying the ride, or enjoying the environment, or enjoying the technical aspects of riding. And I particularly like riding in all sorts of different kinds of weather, and seeing how the bike reacts, and seeing how I cope with different scenarios. I love going to different areas, riding in different environments as well, especially in the countryside on the back roads. I absolutely love that. I enjoy a leisurely style of riding these days, more so than I ever did before. And it's more to do with the whole experience, rather than just riding a particular brand of motorcycle. The brand of motorcycle doesn't bother me. It's got nothing to do. It's how I feel on that particular motorcycle, of whichever brand it is. So that's where I come from. It's more about my experience and my feeling on that particular motorcycle, on the journey which I'm going to make as well. Other people have a different view. It's more about the social aspect. It's more about clubs and associations. It's more about, you've got to ride a certain model, you've got to ride a certain manufacturer, you've got to look a certain way, you've got to act in a certain way. All of that never concerned me. And I'm sure it doesn't concern a lot of other people as well. So many people are just saying, just ride your damn bike. Just enjoy it for what it is. And if you don't enjoy it, just either sell it, go and get another bike, or just stop motorcycling, stop moaning, and just go and drive a car. And you know what? I can't disagree with that. Can't disagree with that. You know, the point is of being on a motorcycle is just to have your own experiences and not get concerned what's going on in a motorcycle manufacturer or a dealership or anything else like that. It's more about you've bought the motorcycle from whichever source. You've bought that motorcycle. It's now yours, or you're paying it off, or whatever it is. And now it's yours to enjoy. So that's what you should do. Just enjoy the ride. Enjoy the ride wherever it takes you. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. And I will catch you again on another video coming very soon. Right, and with that, I'm about to go out for a ride and enjoy it immensely. Ta-da. RevelatorAlf. I just got the wibbles on my Harley Davidson. Or is it wobbles? Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're well. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. So, I've just been out on the old heroic Harley once again this afternoon to go and get a few provisions for this evening. Anyway, just thought I'd go and have a little ride around, as you do. And as I was riding around, I started to feel, well, not wobbles, but what I would call wibbles. I haven't turned into a bit of a Fruit Loop just like Rowan Atkinson and Blackadder. No, it's more that the bike it felt a bit vague as I was riding along, especially going round a bend. And not necessarily having a wobble, but what I would say a wibble, a kind of a very small wobble, a very small uneasiness on the bike. So I was riding around and I thought, let me go and check these tyre pressures again, because a couple of weeks ago they were down, and a couple of weeks before that they were down as well, especially the rear one. So I thought, well, I'd top them up, but not by much. They hadn't gone down a lot, but just by a little. Anyway, popped into the local garage and they were down. The rear was down to 29 psi, which is down from 40, and the front was down to 31, 32 from 36. So there was a little bit on the front, but mostly on the rear. Now, you notice when you're riding along if your tyre pressures are not quite right, because if the front, it kind of acts a little bit differently to the rear. If the rear is down, you kind of sit down in the bike a little bit more, and you kind of feel your tail shifting around a little bit. Whereas the front is a little bit down, you feel your steering off a little bit as well. So for me, what I was feeling, my arse was low a little bit, my tail was a little bit vague, and it was kind of as if the front wheel was sat up on top of the tarmac a little bit. So that's kind of thinking, well, yeah, I've got the wibbles here. Let me check my tyre pressures, and indeed they were down. I went riding a little bit around a little bit. I thought, let me just see, even after about 15 miles, if my tyre pressures were down. And indeed, they were just down, maybe about 1 or 2 psi. Now, obviously, I think I've got either a problem around the rim, because these are tubeless tyres, or I can't see any nail or any obvious problem in either tyre. Now, obviously, I'm going to have a closer inspection and spray them all up and, you know, see if I can see any bubbles coming out from anywhere. I mean, I certainly can't hear anything. But this is something I've noticed over the last sort of couple of weeks. I can't detect a puncture, but the air is coming out of the tyre very, very slowly. Now, sometimes it comes out a little bit more, sometimes it don't. Now, the obvious thing, I know you're going to say, you've got a nail in your tyre. It's as simple as that. Maybe it isn't. I mean, these are tubeless tyres, and I'll tell you what, I'm surprised at also how rigid they are, especially the rear tyre. I'm running Avon Cobham Chromes, of course. Whether I'll be able to get these in the future, who knows. But they are quite rigid. Now, you know, I don't want to get all tyre spec on you, but tubeless tyres are generally less rigid than tubed tyres, but they make a tighter seal on the rims. They actually make an airtight seal on the rim, so that's why you don't need tubes. They're usually made of lighter weight material as well. They're more efficient, they're better for fuel consumption, all that kind of stuff, but they are prone to punctures as well. I wouldn't be surprised if I've got a very thin nail in there or a thorn or something like that that's actually gone through, it's poking through, and it's just letting out a little bit of air every now and again. But I say I'll inspect that. But I'm surprised at how rigid the tyres are. It's not as if I'm running flat. I mean, one time I hadn't checked the tyres, you know, shame on me. I hadn't checked the tyre pressures for it. I went out and I thought, crikey, what's the tyre pressure on it? And it was down to bloody about 12 psi or something. I thought, crikey, what the hell's going on? And I was feeling it really vague then as well. Again, this is, you know, telltale sign, right? And I'm bringing this to you because, you know, whilst we all like to say, check your tyres, and you do, and sometimes it depends. If you've got a slow leak, that it might be undetectable for a long time. But all of a sudden, if it suddenly becomes in quite a fast leak, then all of a sudden you could drop a lot of PSI in a short period of time. You could check your tyres at the start of the journey, and halfway through the journey, all of a sudden, because of temperature variation and maybe some shifting on the tyre as well, movement on the tyre, or movement on the rim, I should say, of the tyre, you know, you get that kind of flexing, you know, you could lose a bit of pressure there as well. So yeah, I got the wibbles. It's yeah, a little bit disconcerting really. I mean, I suppose the best way to describe a wibble is where you can feel the tyres flexing as you're rolling along, as opposed to, you know, riding over some kind of uneven road surface where your road tyres can start tracking where you don't want them to. This is more like there's flexing in the tyre, especially when in a bend, and you kind of feel something there a little bit, but it's not something that makes you go whoop. You know, it's not that severe, so less of a wobble and more of a wibble, I would say. But anyway, listen, I'm gonna obviously keep on top of this, so I'm gonna go and check the tyres for a proper leak now with my old spray gun and a bit of fairy liquid, or I should say washing detergent, really. You know, no plugs here for any products, that's for sure. But anyway, listen, yeah, I had a bit of a wibble, then I checked the tyres, pumped them up, check them again with my inflator, and yeah, it seemed absolutely fine, just a little bit down. So I'll check them again in the morning before I go off again, and see if how much they degrade overnight. But yeah, wibbles and wobbles, tyre pressures, check them on a regular basis, and check them again. And once you've checked them twice, probably worth checking them again. But there we go. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for future videos, and I will catch you again in another video coming very soon. Ta-da now. Right, where to stick this pencil? Wibble. RevelatorAlf. Is it the CEO? Is it the board of directors? Is it the company, or is it just modern trends? What is up with Harley Davidson, and how can they fix their woes? Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're all well. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. So I just got back from a glorious ride on my heroic Harley. Well, my bike might still be heroic, but the company and the whole internet world has gone a bit crazy, hasn't it? It's over Harley Davidson, its woke issues, and it's kind of died down a little bit this last week since Harley Davidson backtracked a little bit. But most people out there are kind of saying, especially in my comment section, and I suppose any videos that are kind of commenting on this right now, they're kind of saying, well, Harley Davidson is over and it's all this, and the CEO needs to go, and they need to change the bikes, they need to change their pricing. You know, if they're not made in America, then they're not American bikes, all this kind of stuff. So here's a question, really. It's a question for everybody out there. What will make Harley Davidson your favorite motorcycle brand again? What will make them, if they ever were, of course, but what would make them a great motorcycle company? What would make them sell huge numbers of motorcycles all around the world? So, do they need a CEO change? Do they need to take the company in a different direction? From my part, I would say absolutely yes. They do need a CEO change, and they also need to look at the whole board of directors and say, what kind of people do we have at the top of the company and which direction are they going. They need to kind of re-energize or reconnect with their core customer base. Now, does that mean that they only supply motorcycles that their core customer base wants? Just remember, the core customer base is plus 35, plus 40 and above. They're aging. So does that necessarily mean that they only have to answer to them? For me, no. They have to change the direction of the company, but they also just can't listen to one demographic. They've got to listen to all, and they've got to supply to all. Now, in terms of this DEI, right, diversity, equity, inclusion, nobody has ever said, as far as I've ever heard, that nobody has ever said that nobody should be treated unfairly or nobody should be prejudiced against in any workplace, which I totally disagree with, or disagree with that kind of concept that anybody has to be prejudiced against for whatever reason, right? But what I'm saying is, if that changes the way you're working, your policy changes the way you're working, and you're producing motorcycles, and you're not getting the best people for the role, regardless of what their background is, then you're failing. You're failing yourself, you're failing shareholders, and you're failing your customer base as well. But is that even really the issue? Okay, let's just put all that aside, the woke stuff, the DEI stuff aside. Let's put just the CEO and the board of directors aside just for 1 second, because it's all included, right? What is the major problem with Harley Davidson? Well, I've got to say, from reading some of my comments, and I do read them, by the way, people, more than most, have said repeatedly over the years that Harley Davidsons are just too expensive for what they are. Okay, there are lots of expensive motorcycles out there. There are lots of boutique brands that are even more expensive, but those are boutique brands. They're building bespoke motorcycles, kind of. But in terms of a mass producer like Harley Davidson, they're producing motorcycles that are just too expensive for the kind of motorcycle that you get, the kind of technologies on there, the kind of performance that it gives you. Now, some people like that in terms of the type of motorcycle it is and the kind of performance and technology, and other people don't. So I'm going to park the technology side of it and the performance side of it, because it's a Harley, right? A Harley's a Harley. We all know what it is. But then it comes down to the value for money. And what's happened is, under this new CEO especially, that they moved away from a program to kind of diversify their product range and who they would aim it out all over the world. And they've sort of narrowed it down into only going for high-end consumers. A high-end product, which they would call it, for a high-end consumer or a high-value consumer. Now, I've remarked on this in the past. I think it's absolutely the wrong play. It's the wrong thing to do. And this, for me, is what is biting Harley Davidson right in the derriere. It's not this woke stuff. It's got nothing to do with that. Whilst it's a temporary thing, whilst it might upset a lot of people, whilst it might cause people to boycott the brand and all that kind of stuff, and some numpty on YouTube to start machine gunning his Harley Davidson, or is blowing it up with a bazooka or whatever the hell he's doing. Don't be swayed by all that nonsense either, because I bet your bottom dollar he's just done it for clicks, and you can bet your bottom dollar as well that they weren't even his own motorcycles. He's basically just bought them, some cheap motorcycle somewhere, $2,000 or $3,000, and he's just rode them onto his farm or whatever it is, and he's just taken pot shots at it. And this is another thing as well. That's nothing new as well. People have been doing this with vehicles for ages, taking them into a field and blowing the hell out of them with either guns or bazookas or God knows whatever else. He's just jumped onto the bandwagon about Harley Davidson. Well, I'm going to blow it up. Oh, look at me, how revolutionary I am. It's all a load of nonsense. It's all noise. And I've said this in the past, it's all old news and it's just a load of noise. So what is the key issue here? What's going to bring you back to, let's just say, think that Harley Davidson is a good brand, or Harley Davidson make decent bikes, or Harley Davidson, are the kind of bike that you would want to buy? Does it just come down to price? Is that what we're talking about? Are we talking about, regardless of the motorcycles that they produce, it's down to price? So if it's just down to price, what price do they need to come down to in order for you to start wanting to buy them. And if those motorcycles can't come down, what do Harley-Davidson as a company need to produce to bring your custom to them? That's the key thing here. So for me, it's a multi-layered problem. It's also a multi-layered solution. It's not just one thing. It can't just be that a CEO comes in, a new CEO replaces this one, and all of a sudden all is going to be well with the company. It isn't. It's going to take a lot more than that. The whole core of the company needs to change. They need to change their values. They need to change who they're aiming their products at. And they need to look at price point and what people want to afford. There's a very interesting comment. As I say, I do read the comments. And quite a few have mentioned this as well. So you look at the young people now. Well, a lot of them are not even getting into motorcycling. They would prefer electric bicycles or electric scooters who can function, do all the things that a moped could do or a small CC bike could do, and they don't even have to get a license, especially for urban riding, right? You just get on a scooter, electric bicycle, and away you go. It serves every purpose that you need. Yes, they might be a little bit expensive in some cases, but in other cases, they're really, really cheap. And kids are getting on these bikes. So there's your market that you're losing already. Now, this is not a Harley-Davidson issue. This is a motorcycle industry issue, right? So how do you get them back? How do you get these people back? How do you get these kids from teens to early 20s? How do you get them into motorcycling? Well, it comes down to purely a product that is appealing and is cheap. That's it. That's where it comes down to. And you've got to compete with electric bicycles and electric scooters. And perhaps now that market is gone. Maybe there isn't even a market anymore. So really you're kind of looking at electric scooters, possibly, but really cheap petrol-driven mopeds or scooters as well. That's what's going to give a viable alternative for any new person coming into the industry, let's say, or coming into the motorcycle riding sort of lifestyle. So you're always going to have a problem. You're always going to have a problem with the changing values, the changing habits of people, the new generation coming through. People thinking that, I'm definitely not going to be spending 25, 30, 40,000 pounds, dollars, shekels, or even less, 15, 16, 20,000 on a motorcycle, which is absolutely insane. I've been saying this for so long. The prices of these motorcycles are just insane. But granted, if you still want to sell those in small numbers, no problem. But you've got to sell something that's a lot cheaper, a lot more affordable, let's just say, for the everyday person who doesn't really care about the brand and the prestige. They just want some kind of motorcycle, moped that can get them from A to B and just have a bit of fun on. So why is it that some motorcycle manufacturers are producing small CC motorcycles to great effect? And if you go back on my channel, I've said this repeatedly in the past, 2 or 3 years ago perhaps. Watch out for the Chinese brands. Watch out for the Indian brands. Watch out for the likes of Royal Enfield. Watch out for the likes of any motorcycle manufacturer, BMW, KTM, Triumph, who've kind of switched stance, and they haven't abandoned their core roots in terms of their bigger motorcycles, but they start producing smaller motorcycles. And guess what? Triumph have had amazing success now with their 400s. Royal Enfields have had amazing success as well, all over the world, and their market is growing and growing and growing. So is that what Harley-Davidson need to do? They need to produce smaller motorcycles as well as the bigger motorcycles. All their motorcycles just need to come down in price. Do they just need to get away from this premium brand ideology? Do they just need to get away from we are so much better because we are Harley-Davidson? The problem is that may have worked a long time ago. It's not working now. And the people who you were relying on to buy your motorcycles because they believe the dream, right? They believe the hype. Those people don't buy it anymore. They don't believe you anymore. And especially when the company has taken a right turn, or a left turn in this case, and alienated a lot of people. Now they're getting backlash from the left and the right for their policies. One for imposing those policies in the first place, and then now for retracting them as well from the other side. They're in a lose-lose situation. But again, try to ignore the noise on the internet, because a lot of these people don't even care about Harley-Davidson. They don't even care about motorcycling. They don't even ride motorcycles as well. They're just jumping on the bandwagon and reporting about all this kind of stuff. You and I who ride motorcycles, it affects us. And it affects our children if they get into motorcycle, or our grandchildren if they get into motorcycling, the options available and the price point and so on and so forth. So if you look at Harley Davidson as a brand that you once admired, or the bikes that you once liked, what is it simply that would win your favor again? That would make you look at Harley Davidson as a brand again? Is it the type of bikes that they produce? Well, I believe they already have the technology there to produce much better motorcycles, or motorcycles that would appeal to a different kind of rider. And that is on the Revolution Max engine. They've also got smaller engine motorcycles that they're producing in China, and they're shipping them out to Southeast Asia and Australasia. They've also got the X440 that's going to India as well. So make those more readily available, but don't make them more expensive than other like motorcycles. It comes down to price. You can't impose a Harley tax on a Harley Davidson, which is basically just a copy of something else. So this is where they've screwed themselves up a little bit. The X440 in India could have been the Triumph 400. It could have been a huge success if they had just brought it to Europe and brought it to the United States and sold it at a very reasonable price. The same with the X350 and the X500 that's gone to Australia. I've been told, again from comments as well, I'm not 100% sure myself, but please let us know as well, that certainly the X500 is basically just a copy of the Benelli. Just a copy of the Benelli, just with a few accent changes so that you know it's a Harley Davidson. But essentially, it's a Benelli. The Benelli costs about $1,000, $1,500 Australian dollars less than the Harley Davidson. So if you've got to be a fan of Harley Davidson. Oh, I want to own a Harley Davidson. But when you look at the bike, that one and that one, they look virtually exactly the same, and one costs more than the other. You've just shot yourselves in the foot, because people who are going to look at that, young people are going to look at that and say, why do I need to buy a Harley Davidson when I can just buy that or something even cheaper? So it's not just about producing smaller bikes. It's not just about where you sell those motorcycles. It always comes down to the price and what the competition are doing. And if the competition are doing better, they're producing them cheaper. And they're also not so concerned about where they produce the motorcycles as well. One of the problems that Harley Davidson has is that kind of nationalistic identity that it has, or it once had, and there's a lot of patriotism around it, certainly from the United States, right? All people just want that American brand because they want that American culture. I get it, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Whereas other companies, they don't really have that issue. I'll take Triumph, for example. Triumph, yes, British company, you could say. But when it comes down to it, they can shift their production from the UK. I believe it goes to Thailand. I think it goes to somewhere else, according to what is favourable economically as well. And they can look at resources and the costs of raw materials and employment from year on year. And then all their manufacturing, their assembly plants are all geared up to produce the same motorcycles to the same specifications, bar, I think, the Rocket. I'm not 100% Rocket 3, I think. But they could just shift production. Whereas, like the Harley Davidson, they can't. They can't do that. So this is one of the problems. Now there's a big furore that Harley Davidson motorcycles, the Nightster, the Pan America, and the Sportster S, which are not great sellers. I said this before. They want to shift that over to Thailand. Oh no, this is a big uproar. It's a big uproar. Well, why is it a big uproar if you're not even riding those motorcycles yourself, for a start? And also, they're not big sellers anyway. And also, abroad, that's where people are mostly buying those motorcycles as well. And doesn't necessarily mean just because that line of motorcycles is going abroad that you're going to lose jobs there, where you could, if you really wanted to, but just boost the workforce, would produce other kinds of motorcycles. Or instead of just sending those Rev Max bikes over to Thailand, why don't you just produce other motorcycles that would appeal to your biggest market, which is United States, of course, but we would appeal to a different demographic. We talked about the Bronx for God knows how long. We've talked about a smaller Pan America. We've talked about other styles of Rev Max engine bikes, what could be produced. And they've missed the boat here. They've missed the boat totally on what they could be producing. So not only the smaller X350, X500, whatever, motorcycles, X440, that could be shipped to other markets and they could get sales, right? But they've got to be sold at a proper price, a competitive price, a very cheap price. The ones that are equally as expensive or as cheap, let's say, as your competitors. You've got to produce more bikes, more styles of bikes that other people, non-traditional Harley riders, would want to buy. Because regardless of what the core audience wants, because they want the Softails and the baggers and everything, well, that's a reducing market. And if most people are complaining at the price of the brand new motorcycles, you've got an ever shrinking market. So you've got to change things up. You've got to reduce the unit price of all your motorcycles right across the board, but especially the big expensive motorcycles. You've got to make big plays to reduce not just a couple of motorcycle models, but lots and lots and lots, but right across the board. Those unit prices have got to come down, and substantially down as well, so that people in a comment section are not going to say Harley Davidsons are trash, Harley Davidsons are, overpriced junk, Harley Davidson's this, Harley Davidson's that. You've got to shut those people up. And until you shut those people up, these problems are never going to go away. So for me, it's not just a CEO issue. It's not just a board of directors. It's just not about assembly plants and where you manufacture your products and an identity of a brand. It's much more than that. It's much more layered than that. And it's really about product and price and your demographic audience or your target audience. And Harley Davidson have got this completely wrong for a long, long time. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. But what would you do to Harley Davidson right now if you were invited by the board of directors to go in and say, what do we need to change here to make the company successful again, to increase sales, to increase profitability, all those buzzwords, all those economic buzzwords? What would they have to do? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Catch you again. Bye now. RevelatorAlf. Harley Davidson are to attend the EICMA in 2024, but why? Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're well. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. So, Harley Davidson announced, this is a bit of old news really, but on the 2nd of August, they announced that they're going to attend EICMA in Milan in November for the first time in 2 or 3 years, 3 or 4 years, whatever it is. And the question is why? Why are they attending this motorcycle show? For those of you who don't know, EICMA stands for Esposizione Internazionale Ciclo Motociclo e Accessori. In other words, it's just the Milan motorcycle show, cycle show and accessory show, exhibition, right? So they're attending that for the first time in a few years. But the question is why? Now, last year in the UK, Motorcycle Live, the biggest motorcycle show in the UK, indoors certainly, Harley Davidson were absent. Because I've been saying for quite a few years, why go to a show and not bring anything new? It's right at the end of the year, especially when Harley Davidson changed their marketing strategy where they weren't doing autumn reveals anymore. It was all in January. So if you're doing autumn motorcycle shows, then there's nothing to show, right? Because we've already seen it throughout the whole year. In February, Harley Davidson went to the London Motorcycle Show, and I actually voted it the best stand at the show. And I thought it was the greatest thing because they had new bikes. They had all the CVOs there on display, and people could actually see it and actually, look at the bikes and think, oh, wow, this is really cool. It was something different. And also the stand was really good. And I knew a couple of people on there as well, so it was really good. So this is what I mean. It's all about timing. If you're just going to a show and just delivering the same old stuff, especially if your stand is exactly the same, looks exactly the same, then there's nothing to see really. People are just going to walk on by. When Harley Davidson went to London in February, the stand was different as well. It was a completely different look to the way they were showing their bikes. Okay, so now Harley Davidson have decided to go to EICMA. They haven't declared whether they're going to any other shows. They're going to EICMA, the Milan Motorcycle Show. The question is why? Why are they going there? Why are they making a big point of going there? Can we expect to see new motorcycles in an autumn reveal ahead of their big January reveal? And it kind of sounds a little bit counterintuitive or counter against what they've been doing for the last few years. Okay, let me just show you the press release. So it says, Harley-Davidson is pleased to announce it will be participating in EICMA this year. The iconic American motorcycle brand will have an upgraded presence at the 81st edition of the motorcycle exhibition for the first time since 2019. So what's that, 5 years now? 5 years they haven't been there. I think I said 2 or 3 years. It's actually a little bit longer than that, so 5 years. And also they're changing their presence. They're probably going to come with a brand new display, right? So here we go. Let's read on a little bit more. In the redesigned immersive exhibit, Harley-Davidson will showcase a range of Harley-Davidson motorcycles, giving moto enthusiasts the opportunity to see the latest models, including the Grand American Touring family with all the new Road Glide, Street Glide. Beyond motorcycles, the new and immersive experience will give fans of the brand a chance to engage with Harley-Davidson in a different way, bringing its rich 121-year history to life. We are thrilled to be returning to EICMA this year. Harley-Davidson, more than just motorcycles, it was a lifestyle brand with community at its core, and EICMA is a fantastic opportunity for us to connect with our customers and other passionate motorcycle enthusiasts. Okay, so this statement was released before all the latest DEI controversy as well, so you could take a little bit out of that, you know, connected with our customers and our community and all that kind of stuff. My point here is, if you're not bringing anything new to a show, then what are you actually doing? Why are you making such a big play at going to a show? Now, it seems to me as if there aren't any new motorcycles coming to the EICMA show. What they're doing is that they're changing their stand. They're changing the Harley-Davidson experience at the motorcycle show. So it's probably going to be lots of displays of their full history, you know, obviously all their bikes on display, all that kind of stuff. So I don't think it's going to bring anything new unless they go against their own grain, unless they bring out a couple of motorcycle models early, or they give us an insight in what can be expected in the next year or so. And then obviously in January, it will be the big reveal. Now we're at the stage of the year where motorcycle manufacturers will start releasing their models for next year. Most of them have their autumn reveal, and then we've got all the autumn motorcycle shows and spring motorcycle shows ahead of next year's riding season in the northern hemisphere, right? So this is why we have these autumn motorcycle shows and overwinter motorcycle shows, just to get people ready and entice into possibly buying brand new motorcycles for next year. But the question is anybody buying? Is anybody going to be buying Harley Davidson at the numbers that they probably really want? Is anybody going to be really interested in a Harley-Davidson stand that, well, brings nothing new? It just brings a new stand. It probably just brings something quite interesting to go and see. But in terms of conversion rate to get people to buy motorcycles, especially Harley-Davidsons, will it work? I mean, you know, who knows? Who knows? I'm not here to give those answers. But what I'm here to say, or here to question, is, well, if you can go to one of the biggest motorcycle shows in Europe, which runs from the 5th to the 10th of November, then surely you've got to be bringing something new. There's got to be a big announcement. There's got to be something that people are going to be turning their heads and looking, thinking, wow, this is amazing. If you're not, then you could be shooting yourselves in the foot, especially the way things have gone for Harley-Davidson over the last month. And I'm sure this is going to carry on for a little bit longer as well. I think it's really good that Harley-Davidson have returned to EICMA since 2019 for 5 years. I hadn't realized it was that long. It'd be interesting to see if they go to Motorcycle Live and other big autumn motorcycle shows around Europe, but also anywhere else in the world as well. Harley-Davidson are always going to have a presence. It's not as if they're going to disappear into the ether and we're never going to see them again. They're always going to be there. But the point is, are they going to bring anything new? And these motorcycle shows are always a little bit of competition baiting and also competition ogling as well. You're kind of looking at one stand, but you also kind of say, well, what are they doing over there? What bikes are they bringing out? So it's a really good way to look at the competition. Just look at bike for bike. There's a bike there, there's a bike there. Which kind of one do I like? When you go from dealership to dealership, let's say, or you search online, you don't have it black and white right in front of you, and where you could just do a quick head shift to see which is looking better for you. With the motorcycle shows, you can look at that bike and then go to the next stand and say, yeah, I think I like this one better, or no, actually I prefer that other one. Do you know what I mean? So that's the way it works. So if Harley-Davidson are not bringing anything new, then all of a sudden you got to question, well, what they're doing there. Now, my gut feeling here is they're probably going to be making a bit of a play on their international presence at EICMA rather than just their American motorcycles as well. They might be drawing in what they're doing in India and China, not necessarily to buy, but more to showcase what they're doing elsewhere in the world. But if it's only about, as it says in the statements, really about their Grand American Touring motorcycles, well, we already know that. We already know that, you know, people are buying these bikes and some are selling well, some are not selling well. They've got electrical issues. They've got the, you know, the OS issues on their infotainment system. You know, there's lots of news coming out. There's lots of chatter. There are lots of good points and bad points on these bikes. So we kind of know that already. So what's the point in making a big play for going to EICMA? I really don't know. I don't know what their strategy is. But again, be interesting to see. But if they don't go with brand new motorcycles, then I think unless you're a real Harley Davidson fan, you kind of be wondering, well, what do I care? What do I care that you're here? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. And I will catch you again in another video coming very soon. Bye now. RevelatorAlf. So the pain never ends with Harley Davidson. Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're well. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. So the pain with Harley Davidson and the backlash that they're all receiving right now, it never seems to end. Now, it appears there could be linked to this whole DEI removal, there could be problems with their supply chain. And the reason is it's all to do with their program of diversity in their suppliers. And it's all a little bit, what's going on now? Okay, let me explain. I came across an article a couple of days ago, and it's in the supplychaindive.com, and it's from this professor at Endicott University by the name of Rich Weissman. And basically he goes on to explain that because Harley Davidson are moving away from this DEI policy and trying to appease the core community. I've made a video where I said I don't think they're really sincere about that, to be quite honest with you. I think they're kind of pulling the wool over a lot of people's eyes and trying to placate a lot of people by their words, because I think those policies still exist underneath. However, in their suppliers hubs, or all the suppliers that interact with Harley Davidson, they have this diversity program in place. And whilst they have removed these diversity policies in their supplier chain, they also said that they've removed them as well. But that was almost like kind of positive discrimination within the supply chain, because some suppliers were given favoritism over others if they could show diversity policies as well, as I understand it. So this means that in their statement, it actually says, we do not have hiring quotas and we no longer have supplier diversity spend goals. So that directly affects those suppliers, and they may or may not be able to carry on supplying Harley Davidson in the way they have been under the diversity rules. So this article written by Professor Rich Weissman, who's a procurement specialist, so he knows all about supply chains and business and industry and all this kind of stuff. This was first published in the Procurement Weekly newsletter, would you believe? Anyway, so it's actually on the supplychaindive.com. And it's on there. Harley Davidson DEI rollback is a procurement mistake. So basically what he's saying is, because they've pulled back on this DEI, it's going to have a long-term effect on all the suppliers and all their policies as well. So as I say, it's a never-ending story, it appears, for Harley Davidson. Not only are they trying to appease the community, they're facing backlash now from others, and also from the industry itself could have repercussions as well. Now, this guy is not saying that he's for or against it really, or he's blaming Harley Davidson. He's just kind of making a statement of fact that this kind of has a knock-on effect. And you can maybe understand why Harley Davidson a little bit saddened why they've had to pull back from these DEI policies. because they probably know that it's going to affect all the supply chain issues. But then again, if they're not selling many bikes, then they probably don't have any supply chain issues to worry about, if you know what I mean. You know, reap what you sow, Harley Davidson, reap what you sow. That's all I would say. And it's not just about your DEI policies, and it's not just about the way you deal with your core customer base. It's also about how you deal with new customers, old customers, and what kind of products that you're supplying and at what price points as well. But this is obviously having a knock-on effect of all their suppliers as well. And it's interesting, there is a link here to their supplier network hub, as it were. And there it stipulates everything about the diversity within the supply network, how that's got to be all diverse as well. And their incentives, and it seems as if there are incentives by Harley Davidson to these suppliers to adopt all these DEI policies, diversity policies as well. So I'm not sure what this means long term for Harley Davidson, but according to the article, it's saying actually it's a bit of a mistake because it's going to affect all the supply chain. This is yet to be seen, but at the same time, if you're going to go to and fro on your policies and start going off your main path, which is just supplying a product and getting involved in social issues, then hey, this is what you can expect, right? You build up an operational framework that has been called out, and now that operational framework is going to start to crumble. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. But tell you what, this doesn't surprise me at all. Go read the article, very interested indeed, and I'll catch you again in another video coming very soon. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. And I will catch you again in another video coming very soon, and hopefully in the studio next time, or out on the road. Catch you again, bye now. RevelatorAlf. Do you still trust Harley Davidson? Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're well. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. So, very quick video here, talking about Harley Davidson now, as of now. Do you trust them? There's been backlash against Harley Davidson again because of the statement they put out last week. And are they really sorry? Have they really backtracked? Have they really got rid of their DEI policies? So I suppose it really depends whether this was ever any real concern of you, whether you really were anti-Harley Davidson after all this. You know, are you going to boycott the bikes? Are you never going to buy another Harley Davidson? Are you going to debadge your bike? Are you going to blow it up with a machine gun or whatever? That's all aside, right? The thing is, have they lost your trust? And do you even believe what they would tell you? Because it appears to me that the statement they put out wasn't really apologetic at all. For me, if I was really offended, which I'm not, but if I was really offended, it wouldn't have appeased me at all. In fact, it would have pissed me off even more. And I feel a bit pissed off by them anyway because of the nature in which they were saying it. They're basically saying, well, we're really upset that, you know, we don't really like the way that, you know, the community has reacted to us. Well, I'm sorry, they have. They're your core customer base, and this is what, you know, you failed to do. And by kind of hiding it, bit of smoke and mirrors there, maybe the policies are still there, but they changed the wording. All of a sudden, you know, this will all come out. This will all come out at some point, and the proof will be in the pudding. When their sales figures come out, when people stop buying Harley Davidsons, or they just decide to do something else. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. But have you lost trust in Harley Davidson? I've talked about dealerships in my area closing. There are even more that I totally forgot about over the last year that have closed. A couple have reopened, I think, as well, under new ownership. But it's just not a good look. It's not a good look for Harley Davidson as this continues to rumble on. And, you know, there's lots of agitators out there. There are lots of people just jumping on the bandwagon. But my thought has always been, and I've always said this in my videos, right, you know, from years and years ago, how did the company act? Do you buy into all that, the Harley Davidson hype and the fandom and everything like that? And have they really kind of stabbed you in the back once and for all? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. But do you still trust Harley Davidson to deliver a product that is affordable, that is good quality, and that you're going to buy? And or do you just not care about anything else? That's all you care about. That's all you care about, the product. And if they're not producing a good product on price, then what else is there to believe in? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you don't want to do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. And I'll catch you again. Another video coming very soon. Bye now. RevelatorAlf. Rumours are already starting to fly around about the new bikes from Harley-Davidson for 2025. But is any of it true? Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're well. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for future videos. So Harley-Davidson bikes for 2025, next year. What are they going to be? What's it going to be like? We've already seen that the likes of the Ultra and the Limited are probably going to be done away with, and they're going to be something like, you know, you'll buy a Street Glide and you'll spec it up to something. You'll buy a Road Glide and you'll spec it up. And that kind of makes sense to me, in that you're just buying a bike, a base model as it were, and you just add bits onto it to suit the kind of style of riding that you want to do, whether shorter distance or whether you want to do longer distance. Now, there's always going to be rumours about what bikes are coming in and what bikes are going to be discontinued and all that. So I'm not going to get into that. But if you go onto a YouTube search right now and you search in Harley-Davidson 2025 bikes, you'll see a whole host of videos claiming that they know exactly what these bikes are going to be. They've got pictures and videos. But the problem is, the pictures that they're showing you are usually just AI generated, or the pictures they're showing you are not of the bike that they're talking about. Or they're talking about really old news, but just saying it's 2025 bikes. In other words, all these videos that you're seeing, or you could see if you bothered to do any research, which what an idiot I am, I tend to do this stuff, you kind of think, well, there's no substance here. However, actually there is a little bit of substance here. And I'll tell you why. You see, when Harley-Davidson teamed up with their Chinese counterpart to produce the X350 and the X500 for the Asian market, Chinese market predominantly, but then it went to Australia, there was always going to be more motorcycles coming out. So there's already rumours of a kind of a Royal Enfield Himalayan type of off-road smaller adventure bike competition, really. And it looks as if they're going to come out with some kind of adventure trail bike. And there's been a couple of videos and a few pictures sort of floating around of this trail bike, the Harley-Davidson Trail. Now, if this will ever happen, who knows? But essentially, we know it's exactly the same thing. It's based upon another bike, let's say a Benelli. I think it's a Benelli. And they're going to sort of label it up as a Harley-Davidson, change a few things aesthetically, and then all of a sudden, that's going to be the bike of choice for the future, right? There's supposed to be a couple of other bikes coming out of the Harley-Davidson Chinese partnership as well. But again, it'll be for that market, not necessarily for any other market. Now, depending on the strength of, let's say, the next bike that they bring out, you kind of wonder, well, why don't you sell it to the Western markets, for example? Why not? You know, if Benelli, for example, are selling their bikes in Western markets, why doesn't Harley-Davidson, that would already have an open market there? And, you know, it's the same old thing. If you bring it in at a cheap enough price, at a competitive price, and not add any Harley tax onto it, then all of a sudden you'll bring in new riders who don't want the Softails and the baggers and everything because they're too old man bikes. No, they just want younger bikes, you know, different designs, and, you know, that's it. People have been calling out for a Harley-Davidson sort of flat tracker type of bike for a long time. So maybe this could be the one. Now, if it ever happens, that is. Now, if we go to Harley-Davidson and the Hero Motorcorp of India, their partnership, they produce the X440. They're supposed to be bringing out a whole plethora of different motorcycles out over the next year, couple of years. So we're about to see some of those as well. And there's talk of sort of mid-sized cruiser motorcycles, or 400cc, 500cc cruiser motorcycles, adventure style motorcycles, more street-focused motorcycles. There's lots in the offing. This was always the plan. There was always supposed to be a 10-bike partnership between Harley-Davidson and Hero Motorcorp for the Indian market predominantly. But again, some of these bikes could have easily gone into the Western market. That has always been my thinking on this. Some of these bikes should have come to the Western market, just like Triumph have done, just like KTM have done, just like BMW have done with their GS310 as well. And it appears that maybe BMW might be expanding with another smaller CC motorcycle for the Western market as well. So other manufacturers are doing it. So Harley Davidson do it. So you see these videos and you say, oh, there's a bike here, there's a bike there. So we don't really know if this is just AI nonsense or whether it's fake news, or whether these are the bikes that are coming out or coming in the pipeline, but they're only going to be for the Indian market. But more specifically, the ones that you're seeing may be there for the Chinese market. So there's some very interesting ones like that. They've got the VR2, they've got a V-Rod style motorcycle, or a couple of style motorcycles. It's a bit confusing, because different videos show different bikes. There's a sports bike in there as well, which they're already calling the VR2. There's other sort of Sportster style motorcycles that look like old Sportsters, but they're coming in with just possibly the Revolution Max engine. We're really not sure right now. There was always talk about more Revolution Max engine bikes coming out, and whether the traditional looking Sportster bike would be coming out. But again, it's always going to come down on price. If they try and sell that bike at £12,000–13,000 dollars shekels, well, guess what? It's going to fall on its arse. But if they brought in a bike at, let's say, 8, 9, 10,000, then all of a sudden you kind of think, well, £8,000 for one of these bikes, that's a pretty good deal. That's an entry-level bike for Harley Davidson. A lot of people will accept that. But if they come in too high, again, they're going to just ruin any kind of enthusiasm that anybody would have for the brand. So these new bikes coming out for 2025, you can bet your bottom dollar that some bikes are going. Some bikes are coming. We just don't know what. I said in a previous video, I'm very surprised that Harley Davidson haven't released a mid-season bike, or just to start giving us some information on new bikes that are coming in. Let's say maybe one for the next month or so, a September reveal or October reveal. But there's been nothing out there. You would have thought, of all the bad press that they've had, they would have tried to counterbalance that with a bit of news of a new bike as well, just to kind of deflect the noise, as it were. But again, they think differently. I thought that would have been a good plan to help them protect themselves. But maybe people would see right through that as well, so maybe that's why they wouldn't do it. But as I say, if you go onto YouTube right now and search for 2025 bikes or Harley Davidson, you'll see a whole host of videos out there. So some are AI. A lot of the comments are saying this is all fake, and a lot of these videos are. And a lot of these videos are about 2 or 3 months old anyway. So they're just so old. A lot of the websites that you might see are completely wrong as well. Lots of people quote these websites that, oh yeah, 2025 bikes, and they're always wrong, and they're complete nonsense. It's guesswork, a lot of it. A lot of these bikes and videos that you'll see are kind of artist impressions, or people have an idea, or they get a little bit of information about what might be coming down the pipeline. They might have seen a patent, they might have seen a registration of a bike, then they'll start mocking up images of a bike to say, okay, this is what it's going to look like. But it doesn't mean that bike is going to come out in the way they're portraying it as well. It could be something completely different. I've seen other bikes where they look like the Bronx. It looks like a V-Rod. They're saying it's a V-Rod, but it's a Bronx styling. You got another one that's more of a V-Rod, but it's saying it's more of a cruiser styling. If the Bronx comes out with a Revolution Max engine, one of the videos I think was saying it's quoting 150 horsepower. If that's the bike that you want, isn't it? The bike that you want is sort of for Sportster S, Pan America power from that Rev Max engine in the Bronx. That's kind of what you want, and that's what people kind of sit up and go, oh, that's interesting. But then it will come in on price. If they say to you, you're going to pay £20,000 for that bike, people are going to go, what? We're not paying £20,000 for that bike. No, even if they bought out a sports bike, even if they bought out a V-Rod, VR2, whatever styling, people are not going to pay that money for those sorts of bikes. It's as simple as that. So it always comes down to price for me. It'll always come down to price, or what any of these new bikes are coming out for 2025, and are they going to tap in to the market and tap into the audience that they want to attract. It comes down to the kind of bikes that they're going to produce, where they're producing them, will they come to the Western markets, and will they be well received? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. But all I could say is, go and have a look at these videos out there, make up your own mind. But there is some substance to the new bikes coming out. But whether those ever come to Europe and the United States, I doubt it. Most of those are going to be for India, but certainly for the Chinese market as well. Because they do tend to make a lot of these bikes copies of bikes, that kind of thing. But some of them may indeed, this time round, come to Western markets? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel and hit the notifications bell for all future videos, and I will catch you again on another video coming very soon. Bye now. RevelatorAlf. Harley-Davidson, United We Ride. It's not even their slogan. Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're well. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel and hit the notifications bell for future videos. So I've been doing a bit of research online, and I've been looking at Harley-Davidson and digging into some of the things that they've been up to recently. Now, I'm still hopeful that Harley-Davidson will be able to show us some new bikes for 2025, give us some teasers, give us some inkling as what is going to come or what their next step is. Not necessarily, hey, you know, we're going to bring you this motorcycle, but just come out with a bit more information, because obviously the recent controversies, they've been really tight-lipped. And whilst they came out with that statement to say that they're dismissing the DEI stuff, there hasn't really been anything from them as a motor company to say, look, we're doing this, we're going to be bringing out new bikes. And this is what I would have liked to see them do. I would have liked to see them come out and say, look, yeah, we appreciate that, but look, we are a motorcycle company and we are bringing new bikes out. You know, distract us a little bit. Just, you know, give us some shock and awe of what's to come. That's what Harley-Davidson fans want. That's what we want, right? People look at my videos and say, oh, God, he's complaining again. Oh, he's moaning again. He's being negative. Well, a lot of people fail to realise that I ride a Harley-Davidson. And yeah, I just see it like it is. But I still am a fan, not only of Harley-Davidson, but of all motorcycle manufacturers. I love motorcycles, whatever they are. But when I start seeing slogans like United We Ride from Harley-Davidson, I kind of wonder, well, are we united? Is the motorcycle world, is the motorcycling public, has it ever been united? It kind of has at times, and it kind of hasn't. There's so many different factions, if you want to use that word. There's so many different tastes. There's so many different things within the motorcycling world or surrounding the motorcycling world. You kind of think, well, it's a collective, it's a community of individuals or smaller groups rather than a united nation, as it were. And when they're saying, well, United We Ride, I kind of thought, you know what, I've heard that somewhere before. I've heard United We Ride somewhere before. And yes, funny enough, this is an American slogan, and it's a federal interagency initiative, and it's aimed at improving and or developing, I suppose, transit or transport systems for elderly people, you know, people with disabilities, that kind of thing. So when Harley-Davidson used that, I don't know if they've stolen it from the government, that slogan, but they've certainly grabbed on tight, haven't they? I'm saying this in jest, but the question is, it's, you know, how genuine is that slogan for Harley-Davidson now, especially, but of the wider motorcycle community? I'm not really sure that there's a united front anymore. I think there was at one stage, and the motorcycle lobby groups, not only in this country but around Europe and also in the United States, for example, they've had changing fortunes over recent years. And I've talked about this in previous videos, where in years gone by there seemed to be a greater brotherhood, sisterhood, if you want to use those terms, of motorcycle riders, motorbike riders on the road. We had each other's backs, and yes, we still do have that. But because motorcycles have got a lot more reliable these days, you're not stranded on the side of the road. And even if you are stranded on the side of the road, you've got your phone to go and call assistance. So the whole dynamic has changed now of going out on a motorcycle, even by yourself. You're never really alone, or you're never really far away from help. So that brotherhood or sisterhood or stopping and helping people, it's kind of gone by now. Now, it still does happen, and I still try and stop if people are stranded on the side of the road. But it doesn't seem to happen that often. And even if you stop or wave to say, hey, are you okay? People go, no, I'm fine. And so you just carry on. So maybe we've lost a little bit of that. We've lost a little bit of that togetherness on the road. But when you go to motorcycle meets, yeah, you can spark up a conversation about anything to anybody, because you know that you're both motorcycle riders, right? Regardless of what background they're from or what they ride or who they belong to. Usually you can just spark up a conversation just about motorcycling, right? So perhaps this united feeling it's kind of superficial. It's not deep-rooted anymore. And I kind of feel that Harley-Davidson have used this slogan, United We Ride. Perhaps it's for other reasons as well, but it's just to bring us back together under the fold of Harley-Davidson, under the umbrella of Harley-Davidson, or the appreciation of Harley-Davidsons. And so if we are united, if we stay together, if we ride together, then we'll be better riding a Harley-Davidson. I don't mind that at all, in all fairness. I think it's fine, it's great. It's marketing. You're going to say whatever you're going to say just to get people enthusiastic about the brand, enthusiastic about riding. No problem at all. And I like the fact that in the wording itself, you're trying to unify people and bring people together of whatever persuasion they are, whatever background they are, whatever nationality, whatever language they speak. Just bring them together and say, look, we all ride Harley Davidsons, we all ride motorcycles. For me, first and foremost, we all ride Harley Davidsons. Hey, we should all be united and enjoy it together and be part of one big community. But I think it breaks down beneath that superficial layer, as in normal motorcycling. I think it's there, but it's not as tight as it used to be. And most of that is down to just the way we ride motorcycles these days and the journeys that we make, but also the types of motorcycles that we ride and the reliability of those as well. We can complete our journeys on our motorcycles or amongst our group of friends or in a club or whatever it is, and you can be cocooned within that group or by yourself, and you never really have to interact with any other motorcyclists anymore. So much so that the motorcycle wave, the helmet nod, whatever it is, it's kind of there, but more often than not these days, people aren't waving, people aren't nodding anymore. Now, that's what I've noticed. A lot of people still do, and I always try to, but I do notice that many people just don't do it anymore. So this is where it started to break down. I do wonder, the likes of Harley-Davidson, how united they feel their motorcycle community is, let's say, or the people who ride Harley-Davidsons, how united they are. I get the impression from Harley-Davidson riders now, and I am one of them, of course, that we may be united together as a group of riders who now coincidentally ride Harley Davidsons, rather than we are united beneath the brand, as it were. I don't mind Harley Davidson using these marketing slogans. I think they should be using these marketing slogans. But I'm just wondering, with all the recent issues that they've had and the lack of information or the lack of discussion from them on what's coming next, it's kind of left a bit of a hole there. And this trying to bring us together, even in their statement when they were saying they dropped DEI and they're saying united we stand, and say, well, how united are we? How united do you think people are, that motorcyclists are, beneath your brand anymore? You can't just release a statement and be sitting all on high and just say, no, come on now, gather together, we're all united. It doesn't quite work like that. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for future videos. And I will catch you again on another video coming very soon. United we ride, or united we stand. Catch you again. Bye now. RevelatorAlf. The best motorcycle deals are coming soon, and Harley-Davidson values are sliding fast. Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. Hope you're well. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. So there is a deal to be done in the next 2 or 3 months, next 4 months, on all motorcycles, wherever you are in the world, especially in the Northern Hemisphere as we go into autumn and then obviously into winter. Winter for me, or autumn, certainly going into winter, is that best time, the ideal time to buy a motorcycle. Dealerships, especially if you're going to buy from a dealership, that's where you're going to get the best deal, especially towards the end of the month. Right towards the end of the month, when they're trying to match their or meet their monthly quotas. This is sales staff, and then going towards end of November into December, that's when the stock is going to be piling up, and that's where they're wanting to get new deals or deals on bikes out the door. That's what they want. So the other thing that you've got to be looking at is, if a current motorcycle that you're interested in, is there a planned upgrade for next year? Or is there going to be a new model which supersedes the model that you've got? So I've already made a video a couple of weeks ago about the BMW R1250 RT. It's looking likely that it's going to be superseded by the R1300 RT. What that's going to look like exactly, and what specifications it's going to be, we don't know for sure right now, but essentially we kind of know that the R1300 GS is the kind of platform that it's going to be going off. So you kind of know that that bike is out there. You've had about a year of the R1300 GS. It's had a few niggles here and there. You're probably looking at a bike that's going to come out and it'll be ready to go. So if you're interested in that bike, then you're probably not going to want to buy a new bike now. So all the R1250 RTs that are piling up as brand new motorcycles, they're the ones to have a deal on. Now, if you've got a bike this year, 1 year old or 2 year old in the used bike market, that's at a dealership, as soon as the new bikes come out, all of a sudden those values will drop, or momentarily they may hold their price a little bit whilst people kind of hesitate on getting the brand new model, because there's always that first year reservation, hesitation on getting a brand new model, because we all know there's always going to be lots of issues with a brand new model. So this is where you're at. You have to sort of see where the market is going on your bike, or if a new model is coming out, do you want to jump to the new model, or do you want to try and get a deal on an existing model or a used bike that's, let's say, 2, 3, 4 years old? This is where the deal can be done. And you're going to be able to see this in the next couple of months. You'll be seeing more and more deals on motorcycle models that are stockpiling up in dealerships, especially in dealerships, and that you'll be able to get a good deal on. Now, traditionally, you would say that you would go to the private market, used bike market, and you'll get a much better deal there. But that's not always the case, especially if private sellers want to try and inflate their own prices a little bit. Then all of a sudden, this is where there's a bit of discrepancy. You can find used bikes that are very close to or as expensive, or in some cases more expensive than a brand new motorcycle, especially, let's say, where Harley Davidson are concerned. Sometimes that can happen. Previous year motorcycles can be more expensive, can be more sought after, because people, the community, Harley Davidson community, don't really like the new technology. But then it takes about a year or so to settle down. Then all of a sudden, those values start coming down. So you've got to get your timing right. You've got to see which model you'd like to go for, or which model you may want to stick with, or you might want to trade in. So it really depends on what manufacturer is, of course, what motorcycle model is, and is there a new model coming out, and will that affect the values? And also, now we're moving into the buyer's market time of the year, getting into autumn and winter, towards the end of the month especially, that's where you're going to get your best deal. Okay, let's just talk about Harley Davidson values coming down. So this is what has been happening in light of all the backlash of the DEI and people wanting to sell their Harley Davidsons, right? Now, whether you believe this is happening in great numbers or not, this is kind of what is happening. You can have the ending of the motorcycle riding season within the next month and a half for many people in the Northern Hemisphere, I'm talking about here. And then people will also start to look to buy the new models for next year. So that means that there's a downward pressure on motorcycle values at dealerships especially, but potentially in the private market as well. Might not be by much, but there will be downward pressure. Coupled with all what's been going on over the last couple of months with Harley Davidson, with their DEI backlash and everything like that, and the way the overall community feel about Harley Davidson, then also that's another downward pressure. People have been trying to offload their Harley Davidsons into Indian dealerships, into any other dealership as well. So that means there's too much supply of Harley Davidsons in the marketplace. When there's too much supply that overrides demand, that's a downward pressure on values as well, on sale price. So all of a sudden now, you might be finding that there's a deal to be done, not even in autumn or in winter, there's a deal to be done right now on a Harley Davidson or a used bike, or even potentially a brand new bike if you want to go that way as well. There's always a deal to be done, especially where dealerships are under pressure and the manufacturer as well is putting pressure on dealerships to sell motorcycles. It has been noted that Harley-Davidson has been pumping out lots of motorcycles to dealerships and overloading them with motorcycles to try and sell. Now, it is up to the dealerships, of course, to try and pump these out. But if you've just got dead stock there, you need to get it out the door. So there's always a deal to be done. Wherever you are in the world, there's a deal to be done. And if you can't find a good deal at the dealership where you're at, just go to the next one. Go to the next one. Or just wait a little longer and see what happens with the prices. As I say, right now and moving into the autumn and winter is a buyer's market. It becomes more of a seller's market as you get into the spring and obviously into the summer, where people want to ride. They're desperate to ride again. But now as we move into winter, people will be less desperate to ride and there will be less of a market there. So Harley-Davidson in particular might be having their used bike values stripped a little bit. However, there is a big counter argument to this right now, especially where Harley-Davidson are concerned. Because of the backlash and because of the annoyance with the motorcycle company themselves, those Harley-Davidson riders or would-be Harley-Davidson riders who do not want to buy anything new from a dealership and put money into the motor company's pocket, as it were, they're going to go to the used bike market because they're going to say, well, I can still have a Harley-Davidson, which I love. I love a Harley-Davidson. I just don't want to support the company anymore. So they can go to the used bike market, buy a 2, 3, 4, 5, 10-year-old motorcycle, and because there'll be more demand into the used bike market, all of a sudden those values are going to go up again, or at least hold their values. So there's a little bit of balancing going to be going on. There's a little bit of spiking at times and troughing at times on prices as well. And I say it's all about timing here, getting the right deal for you. So just keep an eye out on those times and keep an eye out on the prices of bikes in the coming weeks and see how they might be fluctuating as well. I say I went to a dealership a couple of weeks ago which was closing down, and I certainly noticed that there are deals to be done there on that night. If you were that way inclined, there were deals to be done. There's always going to be deals to be done in the next couple of months, and especially the way Harley-Davidson are working right now or have been affected right now. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications bell for all future videos, and I will catch you again in another video coming very soon. Bye now. RevelatorAlf. Why not buy a better motorcycle? Or just keep your Harley-Davidson? Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're all well. So this video is all about, well, I've been doing a bit of research out there and looking at prices and looking at alternatives and looking at what motorcycle manufacturers may be bringing out this year, coming 2025, but also what's on the market right now. And I've also been paying attention to quite a few comments out there on some of my videos, but also some other videos I've been looking as well. And actually, a lot of people are of the same opinion as I am as well, that you don't have to buy a brand new motorcycle. In fact, if you watch my videos for the longest time now, I've been talking about this and say, you just go into the used bike market, and regardless of whether you're hacked off with a motorcycle manufacturer or you can't stand the prices of these brand new machines, I said, well, just go into the used bike market. There's going to be some great deals there. And I've talked about in other videos the lead up to winter and Christmas as well. You're going to get some fantastic deals towards the end of the year. And at the end of each month, well, salesmen are going to want to try and get rid of their bikes, right? Or salespeople, I should say. They're going to try and get rid of their stock, and you might be able to get a good deal here. So whether you're in a dealership or whether you go into the private sector, you're going to be able to find a deal if you want to. But the point of this video is that even if you want to do that, you want to change your bike, are you necessarily going to get a better bike? And is it going to be a better bike for you? Or should you just stick with what you've got? There are lots of opportunities to buy another bike. Of course there are. You know, you can go anywhere to buy a bike. But are you going to get a better bike than what you've got right now? So if I just have to talk about myself, you know that I ride a Harley-Davidson Sport Glide. I've owned it for, 5.5 years now, something like that. Absolutely love that bike. But I have been thinking in the last year or so about changing it. I've been thinking about, well, should I stick with another Harley-Davidson? Should I upgrade? Should I go to another manufacturer? Should I go to another style of motorcycle altogether? I've been weighing this up for quite a few months now. And I haven't really made a lot of decisions. I know the kind of bike that I probably would go for if I had the money. but it's not necessarily something that I'm jumping towards, I'm leaning towards. I have said that I'm very unlikely to go to a brand new motorcycle, and it's not against Harley Davidson in particular. This is about all motorcycle manufacturers, that I just believe their top end bikes are just way too expensive. The kind of bikes that I would probably want to be buying to replace my Harley Davidson, I just think they're way too expensive. Whilst in some cases I still believe there's some value there, a lot of cases I just think there's too much expense there. But then I'm looking at value and riding experience, and would I get much better value or a better motorcycle than what I've currently got? So there's always this toss-up between keeping you what you've got, working with the devil you know, as it were, but also trying to move over to where the grass may be greener. Now, it could be that you're just going to upgrade the motorcycle that you've got. You're going to go like for like. I've got a Sport Glide, I'm going to get a new Sport Glide. I got a Street Glide, I'm going to get a brand new Street Glide. I'm going to get a BMW, a Kawasaki, a Suzuki, whatever it is. I'm just going to upgrade the same model. Okay, so that's a bit of a no-brainer. But you could still find yourself, actually, I prefer my model year over this brand new one that I'm considering buying. So this is always a big problem. Is it better to keep your own bike, your own Harley Davidson in my case, or should I go for, in some cases, a much better motorcycle? And I talk about better in terms of value, in terms of performance, in terms of its reputation, in terms of the way it just rides and feels. Because there are better bikes out there. I've talked about this in the past. So there are better bikes out there than the bike I've currently got. It doesn't necessarily mean that it'll be a better motorcycle for me, because it's all about being subjective. I can sit here and tell you that this Harley Davidson or that Indian or that Kawasaki is the best bike for you and you should ride it. And this is what I've always said about my motorcycle reviews. People ask me all the time, are you going to do more motorcycle reviews? And I say, well, first and foremost, I want to clarify. This is what I say to them. I say, I try not to say that they're motorcycle reviews, because it's very difficult to give a motorcycle review when you're just riding the bike for an hour. I would say this is my first impression of this bike. Whilst I might call it a review, whatever, it is really just an impression. So if you want to give a proper review, you've got to ride that bike for 6 months, 8 months, a year, live with it to see what it's really like in all sorts of conditions. But I appreciate where people are saying, look, we enjoy you riding your bikes, the different bikes. We'd like to see more of it. I'd love to do more of it as well. I love riding all sorts of different bikes. But when I'm reviewing bikes, in inverting commas, I do acknowledge quite quickly whether this bike is going to be suitable for the kind of riding that I want to do. But I also acknowledge that this bike that I'm currently reviewing, riding, is actually better than the bike I've got. It is a better bike. It's better in terms of mechanics, better in terms of riding, better in terms of tech, better in terms of handling, braking, whatever it is. Much more comfortable. It's an overall much better bike. But I kind of look at my bike and think, well, it might be better, but it may not be better for me. There's always this argument. There's always this yin and yang, good versus evil, as it were. Should I keep my bike? Should I change it? Even though there's a better motorcycle out there, is it going to be better for me? Now, in some cases, that might be yes. Of course it is. You see a better bike, think, yeah, it is better for me. I'm going to go and buy that, whether it's a used one or whether it's a brand new one. Yeah, that's better than mine. I want it. Now, it could be that you're having problems with your bike for whatever reason. It's having mechanical or electrical issues or whatever it is. You've fallen out with a dealership. You've fallen out with a mechanic. You're unhappy with the purchase that you've made. You think, you know what, get rid of that. And I hear this so often as well. You know, when we're talking about Harley Davidsons or any manufacturer as well, I'm fed up of them. I want to go to something new. And you go to some other bike and you think, wow, this is amazing. But then you start having problems with that bike as well. I was speaking to another guy recently as well, and we're talking about years and years of buying motorcycles. And years gone by, you moved away from buying used bikes, you went to buying brand new bikes because you got a certain age and you got of a certain financial situation. So you started buying new bikes. But over the years, you just keep on spending more and more on bikes. You keep on swapping the bikes and you have nothing to show for it. All the money that's gone on accessories, on bikes, and you keep on chopping and change it. And the guy was saying, you know, I'm not going to be buying new bikes anymore. I'm just going to be buying used bikes. And I hear this a lot from people as well. I'm not going to buy new bikes anymore. I'm just going to buy used bikes because there's so many great used bikes out there. Why would I want to pay top pound, dollar, shekel for a brand new bike when I got a perfectly great bike here that's used few thousand miles on the clock that perfectly suit my needs. There's lots of people out there that have acknowledged what I've been saying. There's lots of people out there kind of thinking along the same lines as well. I'm not influencing the way people are thinking. I think just people are generally feeling this way. They're looking at values of bikes. They're looking at the outlay of brand new motorcycles, and they're looking at the used bike market, but they're also looking at their history of buying bikes and how they've been feeling with them, what kind of riding experience that they've had, and the social experience as well for a lot of people as well. So I would always look at my bike, my Harley Davidson, and I would say, well, actually, I know there are better bikes out there. I could easily go and buy a better bike in terms of the way it rides, the way it handles, the braking, the suspension. I could go on and on and on, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it would be a better bike for me. I know there are better bikes out there that would be a better bike for me than my Harley Davidson. And there's a couple out there that I would think, yes, but they lack certain something. And that certain something my bike has that that bike doesn't have. And sometimes it's the intangible. Sometimes it's the feeling that is all that matters. It's not what your bike is or what the bike could be that you're going to buy. It's that intangible. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. And I will catch you again. Another video coming very soon. Bye now. RevelatorAlf. Where are all the motorcycles for 2025? Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. So where are all the new motorcycles for 2025? Where is the news for the new motorcycles for 2025? We haven't really had anything. I get regular feeds from all the manufacturers, and it's been slim pickings, I've got to say. Now, usually at this stage of the year, we really start to see them coming through. We really start to see early notifications of these coming through. And you might see other YouTube channels talking about, oh, this model might be coming out, this model might be coming out. But we haven't had any definitive press releases as yet. It's kind of been a little bit delayed this year. Now, there could be lots of reasons for this. It could be about timing. It could be about changing their strategies. It could be about just the economics of the world. They're kind of looking at things and saying, well, we're not really going to be selling these sort of bikes. You know, there's been a report here in the UK that big bike sales are on the decline, and it's only the small bikes. So maybe they're having to rework that. They're having to think again about the kind of bikes that they want to sell. Honda, yeah, they started to come out with some of their bikes already for 2025. BMW have given us a whole list of new colours for their bikes for 2025. Ducati, they've had a strong 2024 anyway with the release of their bikes, so I wouldn't expect much to come out of them for the next couple of months of 2025 either. But most of the other motorcycle manufacturers haven't. They haven't done anything at all. Indian haven't really done anything. Certainly Harley Davidson, as I said in a previous video, haven't done anything at all. We are waiting for Harley Davidson to reveal their bikes on January, of course. That's where they do it now, whereas all the other manufacturers do it in the autumn. But we know now that Harley Davidson are going to the Milan Motorcycle Show this November, early November. So it'd be interesting to see if they bring anything to the party there. But you got to question, where are the bikes for next year? I kind of made videos in the past where you kind of look at the future of the motorcycle industry and what the younger generation are getting into, and are they even getting into motorcycling? What's their preferred mode of transport, especially when you take the likes of electric motorcycles and scooters for urban riding or urban travel? Where is the future? Is it in electric scooters? Is it in, mid-range motorcycles? Or is the big engine motorcycle, is that gone for good? Or certainly will it be on the decline over the next 10 years that you're going to kind of see the eventual disappearance of that? Now, I'm not just saying this now because of this video I'm making, but are we looking at manufacturers reevaluating where they are in the world and where the motorcycle industry is at this time as well? In years gone by, motorcycle manufacturers are very, very bullish at this time of year, and sometimes even starting in August, very bullish of what they'll be bringing out next year. However, in recent years, there does seem to be a bit of a pushing back, a kind of relaxing on that. Now, Harley Davidson, of course, they were the first to remove themselves from that autumn reveal period, and they just went to January. And I kind of always criticize Harley Davidson, saying, oh, crikey, you know, everybody else is bringing out their bikes, but you're nowhere to be seen. What's the point? Then it comes to January, and I always start singing their praises. Look, everything's gone quiet with all the other manufacturers, but Harley Davidson, they're coming in, and they might just time this just right. So there's always a pro and a con to any strategy. We know that. But certainly now, it kind of looks as if that a lot of the motorcycle manufacturers, they're kind of looking at next year, the big motorcycle manufacturers, of course, they're looking at next year and saying, well, what do we do now? What do we bring out now? You're kind of expecting BMW to bring out a new motorcycle. We are expecting an R1300 RT to replace the R1250 RT. Probably looking at another R18 type motorcycle. There were rumours that we're going to bring out another Roadster motorcycle as well. There are also rumours that BMW were going to bring out smaller CC motorcycles to enhance that division of theirs, which is only a GS310 right now. So it does appear that there are motorcycles in the pipeline. It's just that they're not forthcoming with any information right now. Perhaps only Honda, Royal Enfield, and a couple of other manufacturers have kind of told us what they're going to be bringing out next year or early next year, but all the other manufacturers have been quite tight-lipped so far. So where are they? What's going to happen? You know, what are we going to see for next year? Sometimes we have these little gap years in motorcycle production. We have a big year where they produce a lot of bikes, new bikes, and then they bring it all back again, and they just kind of carry over bikes. They don't really see anything. So perhaps this is what we're going to have for this year. We're going to have the odd model here and there, but we're just going to have carryover models and maybe some updates and some upgrades, but that's about it. I certainly hope not. I certainly hope there's more bikes out there. I think you've got to discontinue some bikes, of course, and you've got to replace them or upgrade them. But I think you've always got to replenish the pot, as it were. You've got to keep on feeding the industry, because if the industry isn't there, then there's no appetite for it. And as soon as you lose your appetite, then all of a sudden you kind of lost your industry as a whole. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. But I'm waiting for the announcement of big news from the main motorcycle manufacturers, but there isn't a lot out there. I've got to say, there isn't a lot there just yet. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. What would you ideally like to see from your favourite motorcycle manufacturer? Would you like them to make the big bold statement, the signature motorcycles with the big engines? Or do you want them to cut it right back and make more mid-range, more usable motorcycles, more daily motorcycles, and smaller CC motorcycles for the urban riding as well? Would you like the direction of the motorcycle manufacturers to come that way, as opposed to trying to give us, you know, the big shock and awe wonder motorcycles that make us dribble uncontrollably? Or do you want it to be more sanitized and say this is actually what you really need? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. And I will catch you again on another video coming very soon. Bye now. RevelatorAlf. Harley Davidson coming out with a brand new Sportster model for 2025. Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're all well. So, the word in the ether is that Harley Davidson will be bringing out brand new motorcycles for 2025. No surprise there, you might say. But what is a surprise is that they're going to be releasing a brand new Sportster model. Now, many would have argued, well, why did Harley Davidson as a company, as a motor company, why did they do away with the Sportster model at all? It was a good seller, good entry bike into the Harley Davidson world. Why do it? People are up in arms over it. And since that time, people have been asking the same thing. Well, where is the entry-level bike at an affordable price, right? So we've all been kind of saying this thing. So what's happened in the meantime is that Chinese motorcycle manufacturers have taken the Sportster. Now, whether it's under license, whether they've done some kind of deal with Harley Davidson, it's a little bit vague there. But they've certainly taken the Sportster engine and they developed their own Sportster. Now, that Sportster was supposed to have been sent over to Europe and certainly in the Far East over the last year, and they've been selling those. So the question is, if the Chinese can build a Sportster motorcycle that looks remarkably like a Sportster, right? And it's an air-cooled engine, and it can meet the Euro 5 emissions test, let's say, or whatever emissions tests are required, then why can't Harley Davidson build one? Why haven't they continued to build them? Because that was the argument why they ditched the Sportster, firstly in Europe, because it wasn't going to be able to meet the emissions controls over the next few years, the Euro 4s and then the Euro 5s. So that's why they ditched it. They weren't going to be able to match it. Well, the Chinese have just proved that you can take that same engine and maybe just tweak it a little bit, just do something with it, re-engineer it in some way, and you can make it compliant. In fact, many air-cooled engines are compliant with Euro 5. So it's not as if just because it's an air-cooled engine, it can't be compliant. So if the Chinese can take this Sportster type motorcycle and they've given it a different name, but it looks remarkably like a Sportster, then why can't Harley-Davidson do it? Well, the rumor is that indeed there is one coming. Now, it's unclear at this stage whether it's going to be an air-cooled engine or whether it's going to be with the Revolution Max engine. So if it's with the Revolution Max engine, you've got an inherent problem already. The problem is on price, because if you've got the Nightster Special, those are the kind of entry-level motorcycles for Harley-Davidson, which are already at the $12,000-13,000 dollar shekel mark, then all of a sudden that's not entry-level price, is it? You need to be at least sub 10. Actually, you need to be in the range of about $8,000 or $9,000, dollars, whatever it is, to make that bike appealing in the way that the old Sportster was appealing on price as well. So would they be able to do it with a Revolution Max engine? Well, you would argue that, well, no, they haven't. They haven't been able to do it. And they're unlikely to be able to produce a bike that is cheaper than the Nightster and the Nightster S, for example, with a Revolution Max engine. If they did, then there is scope to make different engine sizes for a Sportster type motorcycle. You could, as we always thought, there was a 500, 700cc engine variant. Obviously, you've got 975, 1250. Well, let's just say you had a 1250 high performance Sportster and you also had a 975. You could even say a very entry level 700cc. That would kind of work in terms of placating the lot of criticism that Harley-Davidson have been getting recently because of this entry-level gap in their lineup. But what about if they did come out with an air-cooled Sportster? They reworked it, re-engineered it, and said, look, we've listened to everybody. Many people don't like the Revolution Max engine. They like the air-cooled. This is what this company is based on. Why don't we do it? Why don't we bring it back out and redesign it and give it, a 2025, new look, as it were? But essentially, it's a Sportster air-cooled that's going to come in sub $10,000 or pounds or whatever it is. That's your entry-level bike. Well, it could happen. It could be on the cards. When you look at the press from the Far East, the Middle East and the Far East, a lot of the press that comes out of there, or the press releases that come out there, are for the bikes that are for that market. But some of them would be coming over to the European market as well. Not necessarily to the American market, but you've got to look at the transition first of all. It goes to the European market first and goes to America. Or they test the waters in the European market. So if they can produce bikes already, they're like Sportsters, but there are many other clones of Harley-Davidson motorcycles, let's just say in this example, that they're going to be trying to sell in the Chinese market. We've already seen that they've produced a Goldwing, a Honda Goldwing, which I called a killer, which is, very similar to a Goldwing, which they think has got a lot more performance than a Goldwing. So it stands to rights that they're going to produce Harley-Davidson and Indian type cruiser and tourer motorcycles that could do the same thing. If they've already produced the Sportsters and they're trying to push those into Europe, then maybe it's under license, maybe it's under some kind of back-end agreement with Harley-Davidson, then what's to stop Harley-Davidson doing the same? In other words, either producing their own Sportster in the United States, or they have a Harley-Davidson Sportster that is produced in China, for example, then they distribute that around the world. Now, the question is, would you buy it, right? Would you buy a Chinese Sportster? Well, many people would and many people wouldn't. It really depends. It all depends on the quality of that product at the end of the day. Now, as we know, for 2025, Harley-Davidson kind of did a big U-turn, and this is what's annoyed so many people, especially in the United States, where they've taken the production or the assembly of the Nightster S, and the Sportster S, and the Pan America, I believe, and they've moved it over to Thailand. Well, could this be just an expansion of that? Could this be that either that they're going to produce a Sportster, either with an air-cooled or with the Revolution Max engine in Thailand, or is the reason why they've moved the production over there to make room for an expanded production in the United States of the Sportster with an air-cooled engine? There's lots of speculation here. There's lots of rumour going on. But if you kind of piece it together, if you read in between the lines, if you dot the I's and cross the T's, on rumour, granted, then you look at where the market is, where there's been a gap in the market, and also what the competitors do, or certainly what partners are doing in different countries, then you kind of think, actually, if this is ripe for Harley-Davidson to bring out a motorcycle that people have been calling out for a long, long time. Would you welcome a Sportster coming back? Do you think it should be air-cooled as opposed to a Revolution Max engine? And do you think this is even going to happen? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. But I certainly would welcome a Sportster to come back into Harley-Davidson lineup if it's below £10,000 or dollars or whatever the price is. But it's got to be cheap enough for an entry level. If they can make different engine size variants of a Sportster, all the better. I think that'd be fantastic. But as I say, if other manufacturers in different parts of the world are making these types of motorcycles and they are passing emissions controls, then what's to stop Harley-Davidson doing it? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. But maybe Sportster is coming very, very soon. Catch you again. Bye now. RevelatorAlf. Harley-Davidson have brought out a brand new accessories package for your Road Glide and Street Glide for 2025. Let's get into this one. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're all well. So Harley-Davidson, let's say a week, 10 days ago, they released the Tour package accessories for the Road Glide and the Street Glide. And I think you can actually start buying this now and certainly into 2025. Now, the rumor's always been, in the last few months, that the Road Glide Limited, the Ultra, is not going to be sold next year. Now, whether that's true or not, we don't know as yet, but that's the strong rumor. The other rumor would be that Harley-Davidson would be producing an accessories package where you can level up your 2024, 2025 Road Glide or Street Glide and to make it into a big touring machine. So that kind of stands to reason. You buy a base level model, let's say, in terms of a Street Glide, Road Glide. You add your accessories to it, your big tour pack and, you know, your lowers or whatever you want to add to it. And then all of a sudden you've got your big touring machine. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that would work. You don't necessarily have to buy the big touring machine. You just buy a new bike and just add the accessories to it. Now, whether they would be permanently attached or detachable, I mean, that's another question, of course. So that would satisfy a lot of user wants and desires, customer wants and desires. It would satisfy a lot of the pressure that Harley-Davidson have been coming under about price points and variability and all sorts of things like that. It would also satisfy their hardwire project about streamlining motorcycles so they can just offer more for less, as it were, or less pressure on the company as well. So I get it. It works on that respect. But it fails in one monumental area. And this is it. This is the absurdity of Harley-Davidson marketing, because they released a video and they're talking about the tour pack. And the biggest claim to fame here, if you want to make Harley-Davidson's American made, for the American people, the American riders, for American workers and all that kind of stuff. And we've had the whole DEI fiasco, and we've had even more so the fiasco of the Nightster and the Pan American Sportster S going over to Thailand for 2025, only 1 year, granted, and there might be other reasons for that, as I've said in a previous video. But the whole point is it's becoming more and more clear that it's not really American anymore. It's not really American made. And in some cases, it's not made in America at all now for the American market. We in Europe, we're already used to it, you know, because the bikes come from Thailand anyway. And they've done so for the last 3 or 4 years. But certainly in the United States, they wouldn't be used to that. However, now they're selling these accessories, and their biggest claim to fame here, the biggest selling point, and wait for it, unless you've already spotted it, is that it was painted in America. It's painted in America. That's it. That's all they can say about these accessories. These accessories for your Harley-Davidson motorcycle, your American-made or assembled or produced motorcycle, the accessory, the tour pack that's going to go on there is painted in America. Great. Fantastic. So in other words, it's produced elsewhere. It's produced in another country, wherever that is. Could be Thailand, could be India, could be anywhere. Who knows at this stage? And does it really matter? I mean, that's another subject, of course, you know, so I won't get into that whole thing. It's not that it's produced elsewhere. It's just that your biggest selling point here is that it's painted in America, but it's not produced in America. And that's where I just find this absolutely farcical, absolutely ludicrous. That the company have made such a, you know, they should not even have mentioned it. It shouldn't be on their promotional material at all. Don't even say that it's painted in America, like that's going to make any difference anyway. Just say, look, these are the accessories for the bike. There you go, fill your boots. That's what it is. It doesn't really matter for many where that accessory is made, because if the bike is built in the United States, that's all that really matters for most people. If the accessories are, you know, they're Harley-Davidson products, but they might be manufactured elsewhere, that's fine. But when you're starting to stick a label on there, yeah, painted in America, well, that makes all the difference. That's just like saying if you bake a cheesecake in Italy and then just ship it over to New York and put a cherry on top, and all of a sudden, is that a New York cheesecake? I don't think that's a New York cheesecake anyway, but you get my point. If it's not built there, it's not built there. Okay, so you can either publicize that or not. But if the only thing you can publicize is that it's painted in America, then obviously you got a bit of a problem. People are going to see right through that, aren't they? And it's not a big deal. I'm just making a bit of fun of this. But what I'm saying is it's actually a PR blunder on top of all the other PR blunders that they've been making recently. And if this is the only thing that they can say to appease people or to energize people into believing in the brand again, well, again, you failed. You're failing, fail. That's all you can say about Harley-Davidson right now. But look, don't worry, because your tour pack is painted in America, but it's built in Timbuktu or Azerbaijan or Beijing or God knows where else. But it's not built in America, that's for sure. Or maybe it is, but maybe they just don't think that's relevant. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. And I will catch you again in another video coming very soon. Bye now. RevelatorAlf.